evening and welcome to Decision 99. And before we talk about any politics at all, or before we talk about what we're going to be doing tonight, I should probably tell you what you really want to know is who's won the World Under-17 Youth Soccer Cup final at Albany. It's gone to Brazil. It was a nail-biter, 8-7. Brazil have beaten Australia on penalties, nail-biting penalty shootouts, and it was, of course, 0-0 after extra time. So congratulations to Brazil. The Australians deeply disappointed, of course, as we are for them, but Brazil 8-7, they've won the cup final. So this is Decision 99. This is our coverage of the election tonight, all the way through the evening for you, the election which is going to decide who leads our nation into the next millennium.
Right now, well, it's just past 7 o'clock. The polls have closed. The counting's begun, and all around the country, MPs and would-be MPs are crossing their fingers and waiting. Indeed,
it's been a very long process to this night. Since Jenny Shipley sacked Winston Peters and the coalition collapsed back in August of 1998, there has been talk of an election. Well, the government lasted the distance. She pulled it through, minority government through to today. And then finally the date was announced and we had 9 weeks of campaigning.
Some say the campaigns lacked passion, that Jenny Shipley and Helen Clark have played it safe. Well, the fire and dramatics have been there, but they've come from Winston Peters and his women trouble, Jim Anderton and his zone diet, Richard Prebble and his noisy rallies, and the sudden, unexpected surge of the Greens.
But will any of that be reflected tonight in our vote? Well, who knows? It's going to be a dramatic night, really full of winners and losers, the confident, the scared, the visionaries and the dull. Some people are going to be starting a new political life, others are going to be facing unemployment. But whatever parties or mix of parties wins tonight, their policies, their decisions are going to affect us all in coming months.
So, to lead us through this momentous night, let's introduce the Decision 99 team.
Now, here in the studio, we have a political scientist on your left, screen left, is political scientist Nigel Roberts. You know him from old. And we have, I'm not suggesting, of course, he's even is showing any of the years at all, but Nigel Roberts is with us. And analyst Hugh Morton on the right of your screen is going to be interpreting and analysing results and to help us understand what they mean.
And in our other studio, we have a group of insiders, some of the people who've masterminded this campaign for their respective parties. From National, we have Sir William Birch. From Labour, Campaign Director Mike Williams. The Alliance's Matt McCartan joins us. Nick Strauss, the Australian import for ACT. And just to add a little bit of spice this evening, former MP Pam Corkery.
I'll try.
I'll be chatting with them throughout the evening to get their observations of this campaign and the results as they come trickling in.
And then next door, we have computer programmer Don McKenzie. Now, Don is leading the team. That's him with his team there, and they are behind the this team behind the whiz-bang computer systems, which are going to sort out the results as they come through. You'll have it as immediately as we can possibly give it to you. Real-time technology uses SGI equipment to create real-time visuals, so you can see what these results as they come in tonight mean as the evening unfolds.
And outside the studio, we're live at more than 30 locations to take you to every place you need to be in the next 5 hours. We'll all share the drama of this, the most significant event for our nation this year. The long wait, the agony, or the celebration as the votes are counted.
And of course, for the two main party leaders, Helen Clark and Jenny Shipley, the agony is especially acute tonight. For the first time in this country's history, two women have been the focus of tonight and the whole campaign. Duncan Garner now is at Methven with the National Party headquarters in Methven. A cold sort of a day it's been, Duncan, a cold evening. Nobody there. You look very lonely at the moment.
It is actually pretty lonely around here. We've had probably about 6 or 7 party faithful strolling over the last few minutes. They're officially meant to be here at 7 o'clock, but I mean, they'll be here, I suppose, by about 7:30, I'm told. As I say, it's very quiet. There's lots of empty seats, but they will fill up, no doubt, as they roll in the next half an hour.
Well, that was Duncan Garner, and at Helen Clark's headquarters, we're joined by political reporter Jackie Ma. Jackie, what is the mood like there? Well, we don't have Jackie Ma yet, just an early problem, and the evening unfolds. I'm sure it'll be just the first of many.
An early problem in an evening with this, exactly. There are going to be many glitches tonight, but so many switches and so many sources have to be switched. This is one of the biggest programmes TVNZ has ever done. One thing is clear tonight, as we've discovered with MMP, tonight's count can be the beginning of a very long process of deciding who's going to govern. The old days of somebody conceding round about 10:30 at night might necessarily not apply. It didn't last time, may not this time. And while it's possible that one party will have an outright majority tonight, it's not impossible. This is not what the polls have been signalling all the way through the campaign. On recent polling, 5 other parties might well be a part of a new government.
Well, one of those coalition partners, or would-be coalition partners, is the Alliance. The Alliance leader, Jim Anderton, has signalled he will go into a coalition with Labor. Of course, he doesn't much like the idea of the Greens being along for the ride. Reporter Mark Sainsbury is at Jim Anderton's headquarters. Mark, what is the mood like there?
Well, it's still a bit early. No one's down here yet. Jim Anderton's coming later on, I think, like everyone else, waiting to see just how that mix is going to be. They're pretty confident they're going to be taking part in some sort of government tonight. They feel pretty sure the centre-left is on track. But what they don't know is what we don't know, is what the make-up's going to be. And there's also some concern about what sort of share the Greens are going to have and how that's going to affect Alliance's part in a coalition if the centre-left does come through. So they're preparing themselves for everything.
Mark, he's had a pretty vibrant campaign. Do we know what Jim Anderton's been up to today?
He's had a pretty relaxing day. He was out, of course, with his new campaign, getting fit, out for a power walk. The zone diet continues. He's pretty relaxed. And as I say, he's prepared for whatever eventuality tonight. I mean, they have to be prepared for any sort of mix, and this is what makes tonight such an exciting election.
But it is true, Mike, what you say. I mean, there's been a remarkable ease about him all the way through the campaign. I heard on the news, as a matter of fact, he did the lawns today. He says it's the first time he's ever done the lawns on election day. Garth Bray, we'll get back to you later in the evening, Mark. Garth Bray is with the United Party leader Peter Dunn in Wellington. I shouldn't imagine there'd be too much early demonstration going on there, Garth.
No, in fact, very, very quiet, Paul. You'll see over my shoulder that there's in fact just one of the party faithful has shown up at United Party headquarters so far this evening.
Yes, but however, we can see, of course, this is the richest seat in the country as well, O'Hara Belmont, so people will be more restrained, I would imagine.
Throughout the evening, perhaps. Well, in Tauranga, you can expect things will be perhaps a little more interesting this evening. This is one of the seats we're going to be watching very closely as the evening unfolds. And at Winston Peters headquarters, we're joined by Lee Pearson. Well, Lee, tell us about the mood of things there.
Well, not much of a mood yet, Linda, because, of course, no one's here yet. The doors don't officially open here till 8 o'clock, well, maybe a little afterwards, when a jazz band is supposed to be here, although no sign of the jazz band yet. So party faithful will be coming in after 8 o'clock, and the idea is that they'll party before the result's known. People have told me here, setting up this afternoon, that they want to have a real atmosphere of having a good time, the party workers to actually let down their hair and sort of loosen up.
Winston has had a pretty rigorous campaign, you'd have to say. He's had one of the hardest roads to hoe. What did he get up to today?
Well, Linda, always a bit mysterious with Winston Peters. He voted at 9 o'clock, apparently, or 9:30. Apparently he dropped in on a few polling booths and talked to a few of the scrutineers that he had in the field today in Tauranga. Other than that, I know that he spent the afternoon with a close friend of his here in Tauranga, and as usual, of course, Winston will be heading off for dinner tonight at one of the restaurants in Tauranga. He told me yesterday that he expects to be here quite late this evening.
Good, Lee. Now, one of these seats we're going to be watching very closely tonight, one of what we call the trigger seats, and it's one that's attracted a lot of attention during the campaign, is Coromandel, of course, and at the Green Party leaders, co-leaders, headquarters, Jeanette Fitzsimons' house, is Michael Holland in Thames. That's... Oh, yes, we can see. So we're being watched in the house. Looks like a very spacious house, Michael, and certainly not filled with people at the moment.
Well, actually, Paul, we're at the party headquarters rather than Jeanette Fitzsimons' house. But we are here in Thames, which is certainly the gateway to the scene at Coromandel, and there's every chance that by the end of tonight, this peninsula could be green in more ways than one. There's a real sense of feeling here of anticipation at the headquarters that this seat will play a linchpin role in terms of the formation of the next government. And obviously, if Jeanette Fitzsimons wins, as the polls suggest, she could take 3, 4, or maybe even more Greens dancing partners into the next Parliament.
Indeed, Michael, and just a quick word about, since you got on the ground today, I guess, in Thames, what have you found? Have people said anything to you about the way the National Party tactics in Coromandel were perceived by them?
Well, there is a suggestion here that those heavy-handed tactics in the last couple of weeks in which they took a swipe at the Greens could play against the first-term National Party MP, Murray McLean. Some people are saying that that was dirty pull, but the overriding sense on the streets here is that people are actually chuffed that their votes are certainly going to count and be of national significance in terms of the forming of the next government.
That's Michael Holland there. Well, another electorate where every single vote is going to count is Wellington Central, where, of course, the sitting MP, Richard Prebble, an ACT leader, is hanging on by his fingernails, according to polls. Charlotte Glennie is at the ACT headquarters. Charlotte, tell us about it.
Well, people were invited to get here at 7 o'clock this evening, Linda, and there are a few people here already, probably around 40 or 50 people. It's low-key, though. No one's quite sure when Richard Prebble's going to arrive. Earlier today, though, his staff members were saying that he was going to get here about 8 o'clock and have a brief walkabout, check out the mood, and then disappear for a few hours until the result was known. But now they're a bit more cagey about that. They're not sure if he will do that or if he'll just wait until he's a bit more clear about what the election result's going to be.
Good, Charlotte. And it's going to be very interesting in Wellington Central tonight to see what kind of vote Marion Smith, a certain Marion Smith, the independent candidate...
That would be the alleged rabbit.
Now, in the last few days, beg your pardon?
Just before we go to that, I think we might now be able to go to Jackie Ma at Labour leader Helen Clark's headquarters. Oh, Jackie, are you with us now?
Yes, I'm with you. Can you see me?
I can see you. You look glorious.
Well, I'm sorry I can't give you a big crowd of people here either. It's also deserted here at the Avondale Racecourse. Nobody here yet, but they're not expected for another half an hour or so.
Do we know what Helen Clark got up to today?
She was out and about in her electorate. She wasn't there yesterday very much because, of course, she was out and about all over Auckland, as we saw on our bulletin. But she was out and about helping and encouraging all her workers. She's got about 300 of them out there in the electorate scrutineering, including her mum, as you saw on the bulletin, and her dad.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, it'd be very distressing, wouldn't it, if you went along to that party tonight and you liked Labour but you didn't like Red. In the last few days, Victoria University has surveyed 1,000 people, 1,000 people, to find out how they were going to vote. And even more importantly, they've asked people why. The first result we'll look at, the preferred Prime Minister, Nigel.
Yes, Paul. As we've been looking at the leaders and their expectations for tonight, I think it's a good place to start. And we've asked people who their most preferred Prime Minister would be. And as you can see, that Helen Clark and Jenny Shipley are tied neck and neck on 23% each. Some distance back is Jim Anderton on 9%. Winston Peters had 5% support, and Richard Prebble, the leader of ACT, had 2%. But significantly, we then pushed people into a choice between either Helen Clark or Jenny Shipley. And as you can see, when we push people, the lead is 10% that Helen Clark has over Jenny Shipley. Now, this is significant. I must stress this. We've been doing it ever since 1978. And that year, for example, although Muldoon started ahead of Bill Rowling, when we pushed people, came out on top. And, of course, that was the year that Labour got 10,000 more votes than National. Likewise, the same thing happened between Muldoon and Longy in 1984, and of course that was when Labour got into government, the beginning of the fourth Labour government. So tonight's results, I think, are extremely important.
Thank you, Nigel. Well, we're crossing now to Phil Whelan, who is at the Justice Department headquarters, or at Avalon, where we're going to be getting the counting, where the results are going to be coming through as the evening goes on. Phil, any suggestion or any hint or knowledge of what the turnout's likely to be?
No, it's hard to tell at this point, Linda, but there has been an exceedingly high turnout almost right across the country. I don't know of a single returning officer or area coordinator who has said that they've had very few voters coming in.
Now, last election, of course, some of those results were very, very slow in the counting, and we were really, biting our nails until the early hours of the morning. Is it going to be such a long wait this time, or can we expect some of the results to come through a little bit more speedily?
Yes, I think we can expect them to come through earlier. I mean, we were here till 2 o'clock, as you recall, in 1996. We certainly don't want to have that again.
Well, I have got matchsticks, actually, and Paul and I are going to be sticking them in. We've been sending them out. We should be sending them out to you people at home. But so what time do you think we should be able to get some of those first results through?
Oh, the first ones will be coming through from some of the small booths, somewhere between 7:30, 7:45, maybe even 8 o'clock. But from there on in, we should expect to see quite a number of results coming in, probably in a peak at around about 10 o'clock. And then petering out, hopefully, around about 11:30, that we've got them all in. But it's hard to know, of course, at this stage.
And then, of course, at the end of the evening, don't we, Linda? We read every one of the 67 constituent seats because we make sure that we've got the results perfectly written up on the screen for everyone to see before they go to bed. During the evening tonight, we're going to be getting some tongue-in-cheek political advice from two seasoned campaigners who have formed their own political group, the Pull Yourself Together Party. And they have some views on the importance, for a start, we'll start off with their examination of the importance of image in an election campaign.
Why was I Prime Minister? Because I was 28 stone. It was the attraction of mass. It was obvious. I made anyone who had a 27-inch television set feel really good about it.
Felt shortchanged by an inch, actually.
And if they only had a 14-inch one, that was right. They only got half of me and they felt even better. But that's what it's about. It's about, I mean, appearance and impact on television is all 55% of it is simply the appearance, the body language. 38% of what you say is accent and eloquence, and 7% is content. Now, if you can get that down to about 2%, you're an absolute winner. I mean, why else has the Prime Minister been wandering around for weeks before the World Cup wearing black? She looked like some sort of anemic courier at a Maori. It was extraordinary. All in black, and then suddenly they lost. We haven't seen black since, have we? And then she went through the battle dress phase, where she went through waving goodbye to all these rather bewildered soldiers at Linton. And then she flew up to Darwin to wave goodbye to them as she left. And they've gone off to Dili, which is a much safer place to be than Cuba Street at the moment. But, I mean, that's what it's about. It's about impact. It's not about having power. It's not about taking power. It's about holding office.
Right.
And you've got that sort of flair. You are distinctive. There is no one around who appears like that in the country.
Well, there's more where that came from, of course. And while we wait for the early results to come in, we'll have more results from that special survey done by Victoria University in the last few days.
Yes, but interesting, really from very early this morning, and I know this is the Labour view particularly, from very early this morning, the polling booths, I mean, there was big traffic and you could almost feel, you could feel an intensity at the polling booth. I know you went in just before the programme to, went along to vote, but I voted about midday today and it was very active around the polling booth in Parnell, all right. So, of course, that would give Labour big heart, I guess, for a victory tonight, wouldn't it, the big turnout?
Big heart, and despite the fact that there's been some pretty ghastly weather down south, Labour are picking that, yes, the big turnout will help them. We'll wait and see. We'll see as the evening unfolds. Stay with us. We'll be back after this break.
Direct from the BBC.
The business is without morals.
The fashion industry doesn't want you to see this world, but on Monday you will.
I've been using 2 cameras. One to take pictures on the catwalk, a secret camera to film off it.
A journalist goes undercover to expose disturbing truths about the fashion industry and one of the world's most prestigious agencies.
We tend to consider girls now like not human.
A year-long investigation that reveals drug abuse.
Name it, they've got it.
And sexual exploitation of girls as young as 13.
They act as fashion's pimps.
McIntyre undercover fashion victims.
Have to blow the whistle and blow my cover before it goes too far.
An exclusive assignment special, 8:30 Monday on 1. Proudly brought to you by Qantas.
You can shoot the breeze as much as you want this weekend for only $3. Make a direct dial national call from or to a mobile phone anywhere in New Zealand, including Go Prepaid. Talk for as long as you like and you'll pay no more than $3. Only with Telecom.
From the plantations of Ceylon, a classic tea, Ceylon Gold. A new superior blend by Rosemount, rich in flavour. And now, begin to win in our $30,000 gold jewellery giveaway. Prizes drawn each month until the end of the year. Win beautiful diamond rings and gold link bracelets. Enter as often as you like. See Ceylon Gold packs for details and discover a tea that is truly superior, truly special.
Transform your home with hot offers from Harvey's, like these blackout ready-made curtains. They keep the light out while you sleep in. Snuggle into these quality quilted bedspreads now with 50% off. Enjoy the great look and savings of 20% off Morocco ready-made curtains. Recover that old chair or sofa with Turkish upholstery fabric, save $10 a metre. And add style with direct import ready-made Venetian and Roman blinds. So get in now to save and transform your home before Christmas with Harvey's hot offers.
Phone 0800 to Escape for your free copy of the Napier Life magazine. It's full of great articles and details of this amazing Gotta Go fair from Air New Zealand. So phone 0800 to Escape right now for your free copy of Napier Life and move on to Funky Town.
Eka tahuna.
Kia ora, bro.
Lamb chops and mint sauce.
Get in behind.
Babalova.
Scones and pikelets.
Easy peasy.
Shortland Street.
It's not easy learning to be a Kiwi. In fact, the Refugee and Migrant Service could really use your help.
A bit of a hand, eh?
If you could spare a few hours a week to make a refugee family feel more welcome, or you'd like to make a donation, give them a call now.
Good on you, mate.
Help make a world of difference. Give the Refugee and Migrant Service a call now on 0800 206 000.
God bless you, New Zealand.
Welcome back to Decision 99, only around about 20 minutes past 7, so things still very early in the game tonight. This election's been very much a battle between Jenny Shipley and Helen Clark, the two women. It's interesting, too, to note that the first woman MP elected by National was a woman called Mary Grigg. She came in a by-election in the Mid-Canterbury area in 1942. Her husband was killed on active service in 1943, so she didn't contest the 1943 general election, but she was in only for about a year. Mary Grigg, but the interesting thing, that was the first National woman candidate. And of course, we know a couple of years ago we got the first National woman Prime Minister, the country's first woman Prime Minister, also from the Mid-Canterbury area. So a special place, really, in the parts of the National Party Mid-Canterbury. Now, still very early in the evening, we were hoping to have some results starting to trickle in, but nothing really yet, and they'd only be tiny polling booths anyway, which can't really tell us a lot. But while we wait, it is probably a good opportunity to introduce you to the kind of graphics, the kind of pictures, the visualisations we're going to be using for you tonight. Many results are going to be shown instantly, so this is the first thing. Many of the results tonight are going to be shown instantly. We want to make sure you get the results as soon as they come in from the Justice Department. And as soon as they come in from Justice, we'll show them on graphics or on our baseline system right there. You see where Decision 99 is written along the bottom of the screen. We have also developed two special systems that will give us the earliest possible predictions of tonight's results. Now, first we're going to be using some early results to create our own special worm, yes, the controversial worm, but not particularly controversial at all tonight because the worm is dealing with results, as Hugh Morton explains to us. Hugh.
Thank you. Yes, now, this is going to be our special method of showing the all-important party vote as the counting progresses through the night. And we'll do that by tracing those party votes using colour-coded lines. Now, I've pre-recorded a demonstration to show you of the sort of thing that we can expect. So let's take a look and see what we've got. Now, in the early stages of the evening, they'll be quite variable up to 1 or 2%, and we won't be able to make any prediction from that.
This is made up,
Yes, this is demonstration data only. But shortly after that, when a bit more of the votes counted, up to maybe 4 or 5%, you can see a pattern emerging. And indeed, when we see something like that, we may well be able to make our first prediction. I'll decide that when it happens. But then as more counting comes, up to maybe 12 to 15%, a very obvious trend emerges. Now, of course, you see something like that, and we'll certainly be able to make a confident prediction. We do that by extending the lines to the right-hand side, adding in the predicted percentages that you see there. But of course, not all those parties will qualify for Parliament. Some won't make 5%, and some won't even get an electorate. So we take those off. The qualifiers appear there with the numbers of seats in the House. Now that, of course, you can see is just a demonstration. I repeat, it's just a demonstration. The results will be coming in soon, but I'm sure it won't be quite like that.
No, flat broken lines, no. Hopefully not. That won't be particularly helpful, will it? So we keep a close eye on Hugh's worm. So you can get the earliest indication of what's happening. The other part of our prediction system helps us get an early feel on what's happening in those, well, trigger seats. We call them crucial seats like Coromandel. We spoke to Michael Holland there. Tauranga, Winston Peters' seat, big one to watch there. Wellington Central as well. We've got special polling place calculations that give us an indication of the results. Winning an electorate seat means parties who do not get 5% of the electorate vote can get extra seats, or 5% of the list vote, can get extra seats in Parliament. So those electorate seats can be very vital, can be vital for some of the smaller parties. We've also got the results of that Victoria University poll, which was taken very late this week, Nigel. This is the last poll before today's vote.
Yes, Paul, and what we can show is the responses to the question, how would you vote with your party vote? And of course, that's the crucial vote. That determines the distribution of the seats throughout the country as a whole. So if we look at the results of the survey, we can see that the Labour Party was given 39% support, National 11 points behind at 28%, and the Alliance exactly where it was in 1996 on 10%. The Victoria University survey shows ACT in the 4th place with 7%, 1% up from last time, and the Greens, crucially, over the 5% threshold with 5.5%. Incidentally, we also did a supplementary survey of over 200 voters in the Coromandel electorate, and that showed that Jeanette Fitzsimons would have a clear lead. So I think the Greens have 2 entry points into Parliament. Tantalisingly, New Zealand First is on 4.9%, just below the crucial threshold. So either they're going to have to get a few more votes and creep up over that threshold, and there is, of course, a margin of error in the survey, or else they're going to have to win one of their key electorates, like Tauranga or Titaitonga. And I think that the performance of New Zealand First is going to be one of the stories of the night. The Christian Heritage Party gets only 2.4%, down 2% from the Christian Coalition last time. United, 0.6, which interestingly would be enough probably to qualify for 1 seat, so that Peter Dunn won't be an overhang seat if that comes through. And Maori Pacific with 0.5%. They were the leading parties in the survey. We can now see what happens if you translate that into seats in the House. And here you can see that on the results of that survey, Labour would get 52 seats, the Alliance would get 14, giving the centre-left 66 seats out of 120. National would have 37. Coincidentally, that's what Labour had in the 96 to 99 Parliament. ACT, 9, up 1 seat. The Greens, 7. And United, Peter Dunn there with 1. Alternatively, of course, if New Zealand First were to get into Parliament, we'd have a reconfiguration, because they could just scrape over, get 5%, or they could get one of those 2 seats into Parliament. So I think we should have a look at what the alternative scenario is. And there you can see the New Zealand First Party would qualify for 6 seats, and if it got 4.9 and say Tauranga was won by Winston Peters. Labour would drop to 49, the Alliance would drop 1 to 13, but still that would be 62 seats for a centre-left government. The Greens would retain 7, ACT would retain 9, and United would retain its 1. So we have a really interesting night ahead. We could, on those results, if the Victoria University survey, and it's following the trends of the latest poll, Thursday night's Colmar Brunton poll, Friday's Digi poll in the New Zealand Herald, we could see Labour and the Alliance have a clear majority without the need for the Greens.
A clear majority indeed, Nigel, and Peter Dunn will be disappointed to hear that, because he was counting on getting about 2.1%, I think, to get another couple of colleagues into Parliament as well. This poll, its reliability, your Victoria University poll, I know you've done it in several other, at least a couple of other elections. How reliable have you found it?
Well, we've always found it extremely reliable for 2 reasons. One is it's a very big sample. It's a sample of 1,000 people, so that gives you a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. But more importantly, it's a long 20-minute interview. It's not for pre-election newspapers or television. We haven't released the results. In fact, this is the initial analysis of interviews that were actually finished yesterday, so it's very late in the day. And we hopefully, like previous elections, 96, 93, the 92 referendum, what we're getting is last-minute trends.
Well, last-minute trends. Let's talk about it with our panel. First, Mike Williams. I mean, 39%. If that comes out tonight, you would be pretty happy with that?
We'd be pretty happy about that. My feeling is it's a little bit better than that, and I've got a super scientific way of predicting a Labour government. There was a queue at the Ponsonby Primary School polling booth at 9 o'clock this morning, and that's picked the results of the election 9 times.
Look at that. That is science taken to brand new heights this evening. Matt McCartan from the Alliance, that kind of scenario where just you and Labour can come to some kind of coalition arrangement and you don't need the Greens, that's going to be some heart for Jim Anderton if it comes to pass.
Well, we'll see. You know, I mean, I think it's been pretty clear there will be a change of government for some time now. It's the question of how those numbers... I've sensed in the last 2 days, I think there has been a swing to the Greens. I mean, just anecdotally, you're picking it up, is that
what,
people
to your
are thinking...
cost, do you think?
I think so, and I'm hoping not, but I've had bad water on this for the last day or so, and I think enough pubs around and anecdotal stuff saying, I was going to vote Alliance or Green, and we lost some. So I hope that poll's right.
Are you thinking, for instance, that that your party's lower than 10%?
Well, I'll know, as you will, in about an hour or so.
All right.
But it's right on the edge. I had us pick between 9 and 10. I'd like to see us on the other side of 10 tonight. Yeah.
So, William Birch, let's get a word in from you. National 28%, that would be a dive from last time round and a big disappointment.
I think the question for us tonight is just how accurate those polls are. I mean, they've been consistently pointing to a centre-left government. On the other hand, during the campaign, the support in the streets and in the malls and the factories for National has been very strong. So we've really got to wait and we see just how those polls manifest themselves into actual results.
Touch of reality, though. I mean, on the campaign trail, so have the protests. Everywhere Jenny Shipley's gone, someone's wanted to heckle her. Is that just because she's the Prime Minister?
I mean, I think this campaign has been characterised by a lack of aggro. I mean, as compared with, say, 1996 and 1993. I mean, realistically, the polls are giving us an indication of a change. On the other hand, that Victoria University poll showed that there is continuing very strong support for the Prime Minister. I think that's a very big positive for her and for National. So we're going to have to wait and see. I think it's too early to count the chickens yet.
All right, well, let's talk about lack of aggro with you, Nick Strauss. Certainly plenty of aggro at those ACT rallies.
Well, I don't think they were, you know, mainstream protesters. I mean, people in sort of crazy, scary costumes throwing
You mean the man in the suit, do you?
Cockroach bombs. That was Rodney. That was Rodney. I think the Seamen's Union were the organised one. The socialist workers and you know, people who are 18 years old, 20 years old that work themselves up into a frenzy. I mean, you know, they're looking for somewhere to happen, and political rallies are really a place
That is people in a frenzy. Oh my God!
And that was all right. We didn't mind.
The next thing will be excited.
We had a lot of action and a lot of vigour at our rallies.
Do you think you peaked too soon? Do you think you peaked too soon?
Well, you know, we might have. We were the spread of our polls this week in all the media polls is between 7 and 11. You know, we certainly made a pitch for change. Change can run two ways. We really pitched hard for change, and we'll see how it happens.
All right, we'll come back to Pam Corkery later, but first, stay with us. We've just got a short commercial break.
Welcome to Claire, Angie speaking. Yes, we do have a very special rate to Australia. You can call any weekend or weeknight and talk as long as you like for just $5. Yes, chat as long as you want. How do you join? Well, you can do it right now. No, we'll tell Telecom you don't have to do a thing. Great.
To join, call Clear toll-free 0508 123 456 for our $5 weekends and weeknights to Australia. The difference is clear.
More Christmas bargains.
Yes, Kiwi. The Warehouse have a great selection of adults aqua socks at just $12.99 a pair. Save 30% when you buy this 7-litre pressure sprayer with 200ml Roundup weed killer for just $29.99. These women's bikini briefs in assorted designs and colours for an amazing $1.99 a pair. These long-range Super Soaker 50 or 100 water guns from just $14.99 each.
Get to the warehouse, where everyone gets a bargain. There's a money-back guarantee.
We need family, friends, and even foes. And heroes. We need nourishment. We need our mums.
New Kellogg's Wheat Biscuits, taking our kids into the new millennium.
On a hot summer night, would you offer your throat to the wolf with the red roses?
Will he offer me his mouth?
Yes.
Will he offer me his hunger?
Yes.
And will he starve without me?
Yes.
And does he love me?
Yes.
Yes.
Would you offer your throat to the wolf with the red roses?
Yes.
I bet you say that to all the boys.
Send and receive text messages on your mobile. All it costs is 20 cents to anywhere in the world, and you can only do it on Vodafone.
Terry, where is the Mediterranean-style tuna with pasta?
I'm doing my flippin' best!
New Green Seas Tuna Gourmet. It's a flippin' great idea.
The all-new Lynx.
It's bigger, it's more luxurious, and it takes cars. The all-new Lynx. It's the quick and comfortable way to get you and your car across Cook Strait. Book now for your Christmas and summer holidays on 0800 802 802.
Hi, welcome to Clear. Angie speaking. Yes, we do have very special rates to call other countries.
Call Clear now for our low international weekend and weeknight rates. 0508 123 456. The difference is clear.
Welcome back again to Decision 99. So look at Nigel Roberts' poll again. The Victoria University poll, 39% for Labor. This taken in the last few days, 39% for Labor, 28% predicted for National. That's down 8 points on the 8 percentage points on how they polled in 96. 10% for the Alliance, 7 for ACT, 5.5 for the Greens. But they're 39 to 28 between Labor and National. Mike Williams, the Labor's campaign director, was telling me, I hope I'm not stealing one of his best lines of the evening, but he was telling me earlier he thinks the score tonight will be roughly the score of the France All-Black game. So that puts it pretty close, 39 to 28, if that's the way it's going to go. But one of the most tantalising aspects of that poll is the decline of that New Zealand first vote, down to, as Nigel calls it, tantalising, 4.9%. Where are the votes going? Where's the New Zealand first vote been going, Nigel?
Well, one of the advantages of survey research is that you can go behind the motivations of voters. You can look what happened last time, which is something we can't do out of the results out of polling booths. So let's compare the social credit, the New Zealand first vote, and see what's happened to it. You can see the New Zealand first vote has gone 36% of 1996 New Zealand first voters voted with their party vote for Labour this time. That's a larger share than went to New Zealand First. New Zealand First, 29% of 1996's NZF voters stayed with the party, 7% went to the Alliance, 5% to National, 5% to Green, 3% to ACT, 2% to the others, and finally 13% told us that they wouldn't vote. I think this indicates, A, a disillusionment with New Zealand First, and in that latter category, a disillusionment with politics altogether. But the other big story, of course, of the survey was the rise in the Labour vote. So I think we could also look, by comparing the 1996 party vote with the 1999 party vote intentions, we can also look at where Labour's votes have come from. And half this year's Labour vote has come from people who voted in 1996 for the Labour Party. But you can see that 12% has come from the National Party voters in 1996 and 12% from New Zealand First voters. That's about 1/8 in each case, and together Labour, National and New Zealand First accounts for 3/4 of Labour's support in this election, according to the results of the VUW survey. 7% of Labour's support has come from the Alliance, 4% from people who voted for other parties at the first MMP election 3 years ago. And that last column is people who did not vote, accounts for 14%, which significantly is the second highest column, higher than either National or New Zealand First, contributes to this year's Labour Party party vote. We're not talking, Paul, about the electorate vote. And I think that this shows that it's really very interesting to see the drop in support for New Zealand First and the big increase in support for Labour and where it's come from. And that's a very important indication as to what will happen in the rest of the night.
All right, as Nigel says, that is going to be one of the stories, what happened to New Zealand First, or what happens to New Zealand First, and Pam Corkery is just chomping at the bit.
And they put me in charge of technology here, probably because I'm the girl. Look at the screen, and I have no idea what's happening.
Now tell me, what did you think of Winston Peters' campaign?
A disaster. I mean, I couldn't believe that a man who actually is the Frank Sinatra of New Zealand politics could have such a bad run. I wouldn't write him off at this stage. But I do find once we get down to sort of configurations that Nigel Godlove was just going through then. I know they're vital for this fill-in part of the evening, but I'm thinking of...
Excuse me, one more like that, you'll get taken off.
But my late father used to say, you know, if the dog hadn't stopped to pee, it would have run the race.
Excuse me, enough fill-in from Ms Corkery.
And it's sort of a bit like that at this stage. Yeah.
Is anyone wanting to put the punt on, put their hands up and say they do not think New Zealand First will be there at the end of the night?
Yeah, I will.
Yeah,
Mike Williams, 2. Anyone else?
I think it's right at the line. I think there's about a 30% chance they'll disappear.
Of course, that makes everybody's bite your nails even further, doesn't it? Because, I mean, if the polls are right and he gets 4.9%, we're going for a recount of the party vote, don't we think?
I think if you asked us what we would prefer, we'd probably also... We want them to go down the toilet
it's
because
not
we all
Christmas,
get more.
though.
But however, if I had put money on it, we've all got $1 each way.
And I think it's a sort of secret vote. Like, people would go in the Tauranga booth and go, oh, imagine a world without Winston. And I think there could be a little bit of that factor for Tauranga voters. I mean, Catherine O'Regan, a poster child for Crimpoline, I think I have said unkindly. But, I mean, I think that will come into play in the booth tonight.
What about
today?
What about the Greens? I mean, we talked about them just briefly before. Everybody agreed the Greens are going to be there?
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. I mean, their vote appears to be very, very young. Now, did those young first-time voters actually get there today, or did they have hangovers?
Or were they stoned? It would be the Prime Minister's view, would it not?
It's a bit rough on young people. That lovely Jenny Shipley's moved heaven and earth to get the Greens in. You know, I think that's a bit unfair on both young people and gens.
They're statistically, though, a bit, you know...
Look, I mean, it would be a bit of a shock, I think, Jeanette did. I'm in Coromandel's in the bag. They've run a good campaign. They've had help from Labor.
And that must be a concession coming from you, since yours was the party that ditched them out.
Well, expanded the vote. Sort of 15% of the vote, the Greens will get over 5 and we'll get 10.
An act of generosity all round. Look, while most of the candidates will be hoping for victory tonight, as David Longy discovers, fame isn't all it's set up to be.
And I don't want anyone to think that I don't know what suffering's about. Don't ever moan to me about waiting for getting a State House. It took me 41 years to get a State House. But when I got it, it was a little beauty. It was Vogel House. And one night I was in Vogel House, and some intruders came into the grounds. And so I did what I was told, and I rang the Lower Hutt police station. And the phone was answered by a policewoman. I said, hello, it's David Longy speaking. He said, this is Elizabeth Taylor here. I said, look, I'm ringing you from Vogel House. He said, yes, I'm speaking to you from Sunset Boulevard. So I said, look, there's a number on the wall in front of you that says Vogel House. Ring that number. If the same voice answers it, I expect a different attitude. And the same voice did, and she perfed out. She picked up about $70,000. And the intruders had gone. So don't get the ideas above your station.
At least you got someone to, you know, come round. At least the police have... They didn't arrive.
No, only the intruders came.
Oh, right. Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon.
No, they treated me as they treat everyone else.
Well, that's very egalitarian. I think that's fair.
Well, we'll have more of David Longy and Gary McCormick and the Pull Yourself Together party. Now we've got a progress result coming in, or not a progress result, but a progress from Te Taitonga, the old Southern Maori. You'll see that a significant lead there, but again, less than 1% of the vote counted for Mahara Okoroa, the Labour candidate, Tuwali, well back at the stage, but again, too early to say.
And of course, as we saw from that poll earlier, if Winston Peters doesn't win Tauranga, that set's going to be vital. Also, a progress report from West Coast Tasman. There, 0.2%, so just a tiny smidgen of a vote in already, but National's ahead, and I don't think anyone expects we'll see that at the end of the night.
It's a very easy electorate that to remember the names. They're all O something. There's O'Day, there's O'Connor and O'Byrne. Whanganui, we have a progress result from there. That's Jill Pettis' seat, of course, and but again, 1% of the vote counted. Still predicting a Labour win, but Chester Burrows, who I seem to remember is a local man, and Jill Pettis there, we're still predicting her to win.
Mark Middleton, of course, there, an interesting candidate, just 4 votes in so far.
And Morris Hay, of course, he's the ACT candidate of Whanganui. He, I think, is the man who led the tractor protest to Wellington on behalf of the Taranaki farmers after the Maori Reserve Land
He
Act.
is indeed.
On with Decision 99, the race to win these Maori seats, they're going to be very interesting to watch tonight. And we were talking, and you were talking in your panel, discussing with the panellists about what young people have been doing today. The most significant thing I found studying those Maori seats is the average age of the people. They're all about 20, 21, 22 years old. And so there we have the Maori seats for you. I think we're going to be showing you exactly where they are, where their boundaries are, what the Maori seats are and who holds them at present. But unfortunately, we don't have it at the moment. 6 Maori seats, and it's going to be very interesting tonight to watch the result in Wariki, Turiki Delamire's seat, because, again, when you study his seat and when you look at what he did this week and what happened this week, and you debate whether or not he engineered that departure, to whether he engineered Jenny Shipley's disaffection, you see that in Wariki, his seat, which extends from the Bay of Plenty right down to Taupo, across the volcanic plateau, 25% unemployed in that seat.
The good thing about... You're going to get a lot of those facts and figures, because Paul's been doing his homework, but and I haven't. But the interesting thing about those Maori seats is that it used to be that no one gave a toss about them. Labor got in, Labor got in, Labor got in. Of course, that all changed last election, and this time, if the polls are right, we're going to see a turnaround again.
But the polls have... no, we can go to where Robin James, I think, is with us.
Hello.
Yes, Robin.
I'm coming from Tutakawa Wiley's mother's house tonight. He's
in
done
Gisborne, yes.
In Gisborne, and Manatuki, about 20 kilometres south of Gisborne. He's done what I guess a lot of us would like to do on important dates, and he's come home to Mum.
Well, that's right. Tuwali is the candidate we're going to be watching, New Zealand first from Tito Tonga, but his whānau in Gisborne, and so he's come to Gisborne. His mother grows beautiful hollyhocks, Robin, and it has to be said, you haven't... can I have a look at those again? I'd like to see those, seeing as it's early in the evening. Now, the hollyhocks behind you, they're the old-fashioned sort, of course. They're not these fancy ones with all the petals. I'm sorry, you're rolling your eyes, I know. I do have a horticultural interest, and they are very beautiful hollyhocks, and it's very hard to grow those. But the East Coast is great on the hollyhocks. Good on you, Robin. What's he been doing today?
Well, he's actually just come home. He flew in this morning and he stayed with his family, a couple of children here, his brothers, his sisters, his mother, of course. And he went out about 6 o'clock to vote. He had to make a special vote because, of course, he's not in his own electorate. That's mainly the South Island and Wellington, is Tito Tonga. So he went and made that vote, and then he went and played a few rounds of golf. Said it was pretty horrible. Hope it's not an omen for tonight.
Indeed, indeed. Now, we're going to... Kerry-Ann Evans, I understand, is with us now. She will be watching Derek Fox progress throughout the evening. And this is going to be fascinating, because Derek Fox will be live later in the evening, hopefully from Mahia. Now, he, of course, is the Wairoa Mayor, standing as an independent, causing a little bit of grief for Labor during this campaign, because, of course, they had this one... Well, they thought they had this one sewn up in the bag. It doesn't appear to be the case. Am I...
No, but we'll try and get across there shortly. But Derek Fox, I mean, he believes... I thought he did very well on Crossfire, as a matter of fact. I mean, he made the point absolutely clear. He believes that Maori have got to embrace Maori politicians and Maori politics, and it's as simple as that.
All right, well, one of those Maori politicians to watch, of course, and a new face has been John Tamahe. He is standing for Labor in the new seat of Hauraki. And, John, good evening to you.
Oh, good evening.
Now, are you feeling pretty confident?
Oh, no, I'm feeling apprehensive, and it's a bit like going out before a game and you don't know the result, so it's not good night nurse, so to speak.
Have you enjoyed it, John? Have you enjoyed campaigning?
Hey, yeah, it's been a real hoot, and you really see and get out amongst the real people for a change, and you don't appreciate how much we've got in common. It doesn't matter whether you're living in Thames, Paeroa, Coromandel, or up in South Auckland. And so I've really, it's been a wonderful experience, I've got to tell you. And I'm just so pleased with the potential that our people have. And I think if we get up, you'll see some of that unleashed for the benefit of everyone.
Very nice indeed. You've got Coromandel too, haven't you? So you will have been exposed to all kinds of feeling going on in Coromandel. Waiheke Island, that's in your bailiwick too, isn't it, John?
Oh, yeah. I had a wonderful campaign meeting over there with Judith Tizard. Sorry, Judith. And so things will go over there very well, I think, for the party as well.
OK, John, thank you. Now, one of the seats we're going to watch all evening is going to be the Coromandel, and I understand we've got Jeanette Fitzsimon standing by now. She's just arriving at her headquarters. And there you can see her... Now, who would have thought it, to be honest, because when those two Green MPs left or split from the alliance about a year ago, no one expected they would be walking in on election night with every expectation of holding on to their seats and, in fact, being in a much stronger position. So it's been the surprise story of this election.
And Jeanette Fitzsimon has been one of the three, I was going to say one of the three big women of the campaign, but one of the three women of this campaign, and she really hit her straps during the campaign. So we have gone away from that, and I think we might be now trying to get hold of Tūriki Delamere to make contact with Tūriki Delamere, until this week, the Immigration Minister. He remains, I think, the Associate Minister of Finance Minister and Pacific Island Affairs. But there was much discussion, wasn't there, late in the campaign about what he had actually been up to, and I'm not sure if we can get through to Tūriki Delamere. I tell you another little bit of... I don't want to scar...
Go on. No, go on.
Another little bit of research. Who was the first Maori to win a general... No, all right.
No, go on. Go on.
The first
Do it as a viewer's question.
All right, here's a question for you. Don't phone up about it, but there's one to think about at home. Who was the first Maori to win a general seat? Now, the answer's not Ben Couch. Somebody told me that the other day, Ben Couch. But the first Maori to win a general seat, and see if you can work out when he did as well, because it's a most interesting story, that.
And
the
we
first
promise
Maori,
that after the next ad break, you can give the answer.
After the next ad break, we'll have the answer. Are we going to an ad break now? Because
no, we're going to John Stewart, I understand, who is at the headquarters of Tūriki Delamere, who's had, as Paul said, one tumultuous week. John, tell us, my goodness, it's a very grand marae. Tell us where you are, and have you sighted Mr Delamere?
No, we have not sighted Mr Delamere yet, Linda. He's spent a lot of time, obviously, in this area all week, but I understand he's been up in Auckland today thanking supporters of the three parties which are under his party umbrella, Mana Maori, and he's driving back down here now. I understand he's due to arrive here pretty soon. One man who is here, though, is Tamahe, the well-known Tūhoe activist, the little short man with the moko we're all familiar with. He has already arrived here. There's been a formal pōwhiri, a welcome into this marae here, and now there is the corridor, the speech-making going on in welcome to Tamahe. Now he, as you're no doubt well aware, is at the top of the Mana Maori party list.
That's exactly right. And for viewers at home, one of the developments during this campaign was that Tūriki Delamere was standing for a party of his own. Then he did an alliance arrangement with Tamahe and his party called Mana Maori, and now they will, if Tūriki Delamere wins his seats and gets more than about 0.7 or 0.8% of the vote nationwide, then Tamahe will also be in Parliament, which I think will raise a few eyebrows, don't you,
well,
too?
It's going to be fascinating. And see, that's one of the things about MMP, I suppose, and one of the things about this particular election is that some very interesting people are going to be in there. Tamahe, you know, is rather, in a sense, like Sue Bradford, in a sense like even, I know she's much maligned, but Elemenkopu, in their own communities, amongst their own people, in their own private way, to their own constituencies, they've done tremendous, work. They've been tremendously helpful, unrecognised largely for years. Now, I think Jeanette Fitzsimons is with us in Thames. We're going to be able to talk to her. It looked pretty good, Jeanette, that, I don't know if you saw that before Nigel's poll, the 5.5% for the Greens. That would be a wonderful fillip for you.
Yes, I did see that, Paul. It pretty much confirms what the last few polls have said, and it's looking good.
Have you, you remained remarkably unmoved by some very heavy-handed tactics as they were perceived by the National Party in the past, 2.5, 3 weeks. Did you feel, and I've said for what it's worth a few times, you seem to hit your straps. Do you feel you did?
Oh, when those things happen, initially you have a bit of a reaction, but not for very long. In the end, I think they damaged themselves more than they damaged us.
Well, that would seem to be so. What have you done today, Jeanette?
I've had a lovely day, Paul. It's been a day when nothing I did could influence the result. So I've had some time in the garden, and I've checked my beehives, and I had a sleep after lunch, and I'm looking forward to a good party tonight. I
had a sleep after lunch as well today, and I thought I was due here for rehearsal at 4 o'clock. I was supposed to be at 3 o'clock, and then got to sleep at 3 o'clock, so my rest would have ended in stress. Yours not. Well, all the very best for the evening. We'll be watching your seat very closely indeed, Jeanette.
Thank you.
Well, now, let's go back to these, have we got the graphic on the Maori Seats? Let's go to the Maori Seats, have a look at them, and Nigel, what your pick is on what's going to happen in those Maori Seats tonight.
Well, I think, as Linda said, Paul, this is one of the fascinating aspects of this particular election, and indeed the first MMP election, that the Maori seats are at last the focus of interest. Of course, they all went to New Zealand First last time round, and this time Labour is putting up a very strong battle, especially for the party vote. Poll after poll after poll has showed that Labour has been well out in front for the party vote. But crucially, it seems, I think, that Labour can only count 3 seats at this stage in the bag. I think that we saw John Tamahe earlier. I think his seat is one that Labour will win. I think that Labour will win Tita Tokerau. Dover Samuels will win that seat. And, of course, Te Tai Hauru, I think, will be the other seat. But 3 seats, 3 of the 6, remain in considerable doubt. Te Tai Tonga, of course, the very strong battle between Tu Waili and Mahara Okaroa for Labour. I think that that's one of the more fascinating because it could be a trigger seat, as you mentioned earlier this evening, Paul. And, of course, Derek Fox's seat, I think, is Hikaroa Rafiti, is one where an independent is in very close battle with the Labour Party.
Rana White, I'd be very upset that you're calling it Derek Fox's seat already so early in the evening. I guess.
Yes.
And what about Tuariki Delamere? What about Wairiki? This is a Bay of Plenty, then down the volcanic plateau to Taupo. What's going to happen there?
Well, likewise there, we've seen that he is having a real tussle. I think that Mitariri Nui looked to be ahead, but only a few percentage points, and the events of the last few days, I think, must be something of a fillip in a Maori electorate for a Minister of Immigration who wanted to help Maori, no matter how controversially. So I think this will be one of the results we're watching. I would stress, though, Paul, one of the difficulties with Maori electorates is that not every polling booth in the country is a polling booth for the Maori electorates that they're in. Because, of course, everybody lives in two electorates, a general electorate and a Maori electorate. So many, many votes have to be cast by Maori as tangata whenua votes. Many have to be cast as special votes. The proportion is about a third, and so we wait for a long time.
Well, of course, and they are geographically very big seats. I mean, if you look at the size of Eastern Maori, you look at the size of Te Tai Tonga, which is all of the South Island plus Wellington. So we won't know till much later on tonight what's going to happen with the Maori seats. But as Nigel says, Labour can be sure of 3, but the other 3 are up for grabs. Now, I think we're going to take a break, and when we come back in a few minutes, we continue with Decision 99.
We understand that the last thing to be heard on the in-flight voice recorder was, "Where the hell are we?"
Erebus, 20 years later.
Mr. Justice Mann says that I had to listen to an orchestrated litany of lies.
I think it cost him his life in the end.
The secret weapon behind Australia's phenomenal sporting success.
What has turned so many Australians into world beaters?
And tough love, Kiwi style.
There was a chain in the garage, so I went and grabbed a chain.
60 Minutes, 7:30 Sunday on One.
Yeah, I never met a dog I didn't like, which is a good thing considering some of the occupational hazards my friends put me through. This is mine. This is Herman. Ooh, what do we have here? Fleas. Frontline kills within hours. Frontline's the best. It's distributed in the natural oils in the coat. It protects longer and it's waterproof. You need some too, sweetie. No matter who your best friend happens to be.
Frontline for cats and dogs. The confidence of superior protection.
Okay, one more time. Up.
You can talk the hind legs off a donkey this weekend for only $3. Make a direct dial national call from or to a mobile phone anywhere in New Zealand, including Go Prepaid. Talk for as long as you like and you'll pay no more than $3. Only with Telecom.
Selling your second-hand goods through garage sales and newspapers? Well, it's becoming a thing of the past. Sure, there are a few dinosaurs still out there, but smart Kiwis are using...
Thanks, Cash Converters.
The quick, easy...
Thanks, Cash Converters.
Instant cash prices at Cash Converters.
Thanks, Cash Converters.
So next time you want to turn your second-hand goods into cash, visit Cash Converters. There's no dinosaur, just friendly service and great instant cash prices. Thanks, Cash Converters.
We're moving heaven and earth to make sure this Christmas is one to remember. We've got decorations from 99 cents. And Christmas trees are selling from $39.99. Animated Christmas features from $39.99. And everyone's favourite, Santa Bears, are just $19.99. This is just a taste of what we have in store for you at Farmers.
Kiri Te Kanawa. Maori songs. Songs we all grew up with and love still. Kiri. Maori songs. It was meant to be.
Telstra Business, your business advantage, 6:30 a.m. weekdays on One. Also available on our website at onebusiness.co.nz anytime.
Well, welcome back to Decision 99. Now, there was not only the ballot paper today with the, where you must put your tick for the electorate, for the candidate you like, and also your tick for the party vote, but there were two other bits of paper, weren't there? They were the referenda today. One of them was a referendum to reduce the number of MPs, sponsored campaigned for by Margaret Robertson, but the other was to make sure that sentences are longer and that penalties are tougher. Norm Withers is the person who campaigned so long and so hard for this to get the number of signatures to turn this into a referendum. And what kind of response do you think you've had to it today, Norm?
Well, Paul, to be honest, I've been circulating here and there, and I've had a fantastic sort of acknowledgement from people saying, hey, well done, we've ticked the yes box and we're with you all the way, and there's got to be a change. And in general terms, the people I've been running into have been very encouraging, yes.
Well, indeed, the way it was phrased, the way it was worded, it was very hard to resist, and you may well get quite a positive response. Your mum must be very proud, too, that you've taken up her cause like this.
Well, for sure, but it's still a cause for New Zealanders, and I have been, even prior to Mum's terrible, horrific case, I've been looking with scorn on a lot of violence, and we've just have to have some positive action, and Mum certainly is very proud. But we must remember that, even when we went to Auckland and campaigned up there in different parts of New Zealand, and out to the supermarkets and the race courses and various venues, she came with us virtually all the time, and I think that's a tribute to her, quite frankly.
That's wonderful. What about ACT's policy, the truth in sentencing? Did that appeal to you at all? Was that enough for you?
Yeah, yes, of course it appeals, and to an extent, Christian Heritage Party, who have also been quite supportive, they have a very positive approach to crime, and therefore I've got to be supportive, because anything that is a vast improvement on our existing, the likes of easy parole, easy bail, concurrent sentences, etc., has got to be a step in the right direction.
I heard you on radio yesterday saying that there was another rooster you'd heard about who was out on parole.
Well, I was so sad, and I was reading the paper, and here's this fella that's paroled on a murder charge, which you know what that means, and he goes and commits rape. Well, there's two victims that really aren't necessary.
Yeah, no, that's right. Good. Norm Withers, I trust that you get a good result, a satisfactory result for you tonight. You've got a small business, haven't you, Norm, in Christchurch?
No, I had to get out of there. I was there 23 years. I'm actually trying to sell houses with difficulty. I've had an interrupted period this last 2 years, as you can imagine, with this referendum.
The political life.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
But no, I'm focused, and I had to pass the shop because too many bad memories. Look, I was there 23 years, and apart from Mum's sad occasion, I had 23 burglary attempts, rather ironically, and that's rather shattering to get calls at 2 in the morning and find your front door smashed and stuff missing, and
Yeah. No, the hell with it, Norm. Into the real estate. Sell the houses and then don't go near them. That's the story.
Hey, mate, I hope you have a good night up there.
Thank you. I hope we will too. That's Norm Withers, who sponsored or who organised, who campaigned for the referendum, for one of the referenda we voted on today. Nigel Roberts again. Let's go back to Nigel Roberts. This Victoria University poll, the last poll that we have, might give us something of an indication. Did you get an indication of what might happen in Norm Withers and Margaret Robertson's referenda?
We did indeed. We asked questions about both referendums, and to start with the Norm Withers one, the referendum about tougher sentences. Oh, sorry, we've got the fewer MPs up first. Our sample said 81% wanted the House to be reduced to 99 MPs, and only 19% said no to that. Incidentally, the first tiny trickle of polling booths coming in, we're also getting a report for that, and it's very close. 79% is the figure that we're getting of the first few booths. So that's very much in accord with that 81%. And we can also turn and have a look at the tougher sentences referendum. We've got results from that, I think. We certainly got a few from the polling booths as well. And yes, here you see the tougher penalties referendum, 89%, even more strongly in favour than reducing the number of MPs. No, 11%. And Paul, the first few booths in the country are reporting 91% 1%. So again, very close to that figure.
Certainly, Nigel, people's intolerance of violent crime, of random crime, of unprovoked attacks on people such as Norm Withers' mother, other people, the home invasions, of course, will no doubt be assisting that extraordinary vote in that referendum, and any government elected would ignore that at their peril, perhaps. The Pull Yourself Together party, however, has taken a cynical view of referenda.
And of course, this is not the first time a referendum has been conducted. They did it back in '67. They asked two questions. One, do you want Parliament to sit for 3 years or 4 years? And the second one was, do you want the hotels to close at 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock? An amazing number of people in Wellington Central voted for Parliament to close at 6 o'clock. And for the pubs to stay open for 4 years. And I mean, you're going to decide on the 27th of November to cut back the numbers of members of Parliament.
Yeah.
And then it'll go to Parliament, and there'll be 120 of them there. They'll all be there with a new 3-year prospect of income. Are they going to vote themselves out of a job? No. Turkeys never vote for an early Christmas. They're not going to do that. Just nonsense.
Well, I guess none of our panel will be surprised by those results. 81% want fewer MPs. That's you, Bill Birch.
Well, I agree with that, actually. I mean, it's the fact that they got over 200,000 signatures for the Margaret Robinson petition indicates it's going to be very strongly supported. And I think Parliament can cope with 100 MPs.
Well,
it's also going to trigger some electoral changes of the MMP system.
Mike Williams, if the polls are right, it's going to be your party that has to deal with these. Is that they're non-binding referenda?
Well, I can only speak personally. I'd be totally opposed to that. I think that the extra MPs have benefited the country, given it some colour, given it greater diversity. We don't have too many members of Parliament internationally. We don't have an upper house, remember, and I think this really has to be taken as a reaction to this last 3 years where there's been a lot of party hopping, and I think people will cool off when they think about it.
Pam, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a problem with the logic of less democracy being better democracy, and I think it has been a fairly simplistic but understandable reaction. Likewise, the Norm Withers vote. I mean, that really saddens me. I nearly didn't vote on it at all because it's two conflicting statements, and I think a lot of voters will go out and go, there, I've done my bit to solve crime, but in fact, they've done squat. Because this doesn't address any kind of policy movement. They probably haven't even got the staff to monitor hard labour, you know, but everyone's for restorative justice and, of course, victims. I've found both the well-intentioned referendums just simplistic and a bit sort of nasty, really.
All right, we'll be back with the panel in a moment, but first back to you, Paul.
Yes, and indeed, MMP, you know, 120 seats does give a wide representation. We were talking about before, great variety of people going in. We have a progress now. We're looking at a Labour upset there now. We're predicting a Labour win into Te Tonga, the old Southern Maori, and if you look at the map up on the left, you see it's got Wellington as well. So to Te Tonga, to Wairī, key for New Zealand first. We're predicting at the moment that Mahara Okoro, a very strong candidate for Labour, will take the seat. Nigel? Or Hugh?
Yes, thank you, Paul. That's one of our... oh, it's lost it now, but Tuwali and Mahara Okoro was one of our special seats where we had indicator booths. It's very close, there's 1.5% lead to Labour there. We'll keep an eye on that as well.
Now, what do we have there? We had a look at the old Western Maori, Tatai Hawauru and Nanaia Mahuta, who's eyed that seat for a long time. We're predicting she will win there. Tuku Morgan's seated as the old Western Maori, and the New Zealand first candidate well behind Nanaia Mahuta at the moment in Tatai Hawauru. Well, now, we will be back with more as the results start to come in. Indecision 99 after this.
This one weather update is brought to you by Reflect XL Laundry Concentrate.
Hi again, everyone. Here's how Sunday looks. First of all, in the south, very half and half. This half is clear, but it will be cold with some frost. This half has lots of rain. Now, the rain will ease as the day goes on. Across the strait, though, it's not looking great in the North Island. Look at that. Rain everywhere. Some heavy falls around the Bay of Plenty, the centre of the island, and in Northland. Wellington, you are in for some winds, and they will be strong at times. Wherever you are in the north, take your brolly.
Hi, Mum.
Hi.
Can't stay.
Aww.
Actually, can you help me out?
Of course I can.
Thanks, Mum. See ya.
If you don't use Advantage, scratch your ears. If you don't use Advantage, scratch your ear. For a month that works with ease. #1 for killing fleas. Ask my doctor for Advantage for me, please.
Kia ora, bro.
Lamb chops and mint sauce.
Get in behind.
Pavlova.
Scones and pikelets.
Easy peasy.
Shortland Street.
It's not easy learning to be a Kiwi. In fact, the Refugee and Migrant Service could really use your help.
A bit of a hand, eh?
If you could spare a few hours a week to make a refugee family feel more welcome, or you'd like to make a donation, give them a call now.
Good on you, mate.
Help make a world of difference. Give the Refugee and Migrant Service a call now on 0800 206 000.
God bless you, New Zealand.
There's a lot of things to pay for, and I heard you could get money the same day. Instant Finance made life a lot easier.
Instant Finance. Here if you need us.
Oh, and their terms are really flexible.
I'm Susan, a design consultant for Auckland Drape Company. Take advantage of a free consultation with one of our colour consultants in the comfort of your own home. We'll bring a mobile showroom full of fabulous fabrics with the right colours and designs to complement your home's decor perfectly. As well as a free measuring quote, ask about our free curtain making offer. Let us help you create with confidence. To book your free consultation, call Auckland Drape Company on 379 5599.
Decision 99 continues. Two men are hoping they'll be holding the nation's purse strings at the end of this evening. One is Michael Cullen, of course, Labour's Treasury spokesperson. He'll be in Napier tonight, and we don't have him yet, but the Treasurer, the man holding the position currently, is Bill English, and he's with us in Dipton, I understand. And he can't hear me. Seems to be the flavour of the moment. Can you hear me, Mr. English?
No, I can't hear you properly.
Can you hear me enough to kind of respond to a question like, are you worried by those polls, particularly that Victoria University poll, and its accuracy, which were proven in relation to that reduction the number of MPs referendum?
Sorry, Paul, could you just ask the question again?
I would love to ask the question again, because the question I asked you is a lesson in how never to ask a question. Are you saddened, or are you worried by the polls we've been broadcasting so far tonight?
Well, the polls tell us about what voters have been thinking through the last few weeks.
Yes, indeed, and I see you've got a considerable amount of support there. What have you done today, Mr. English?
Oh, today I've been home with my family, Paul. The campaign is a long, hard road, and we've all been away from our families. It's great to be back there.
So you're expecting how many people there tonight at Dipton?
Paul, I'm sorry, I just can't hear you.
Well, I'll give you the answer. I would say probably 100 people, a couple of hundred people or so. I hope that we are able to speak to you later in the evening and that you can hear us better. The link is better. Bill English, thank you.
There is actually bad weather throughout a lot of the South Island, and some of our links are affected, but bear with us. I think we have a progress report from Tasman, am I right? It should be coming up on the screen just about any old time. Tasman, no, West Coast Tasman. A lot of interest about this, of course, because Damien O'Connor and his party ran into a bit of strife over the logging. However, he is predicted to win that seat. There'll be a few sweaty brows over there because they were worried about it in some of the Labour camp early on. And I think... I
just say that Richard Davis is the Green. He's the gay spokesperson on gay issues for the Greens.
Now this is one of the seats we really need to watch. This is Labour up against the high-flying Derek Fox. At the moment, on progress, very low progress, but the Labour candidate Parakura Horomia is in front.
But again, Linda, look at the geographical size of that seat. I mean, it's almost half the North Island, isn't it, to service? Very difficult kind of a seat.
It is. But the thing to notice there is, where is Rana Waitai's name? He is not in the top 5, which tells you something about those New Zealand First MPs who decided to jump ship halfway around.
Yes, no sign of Maori Pacific there at all. Derek Fox will be looking at that, perhaps a little bit anxiously, but again, he's certainly in second there to Parakura Horomia, who has been a very solid sort of a candidate, a very solid man, a very big man, and a man, it would seem, I think, of a few words. Derek Fox, of course, is a man who uses words very well and again, a very determined campaigner, but I think, wasn't that only about a 1.5% or 2%?
Yeah, 1.5%. Too early to say. It is going to be one of the seats you're going to want to watch throughout the evening as we see it unfold. And, of course, if Derek Fox actually makes it, he's going to be a very, very colourful MP.
Speaking of the Maori seats, of course, I said after the break about an hour and a half ago, do you remember that we'd done, I'll tell you who the first Maori to win a general seat, and it's interesting we're looking at Ikura Rafiti, the East Coast, because it happened there. His name was Sir James Carroll. He first contested Eastern Maori in 1884. He didn't win it, but he won it in 1887 at the age of 30, and then he kept it, I think, until in 1887 he won it at the age of 30. In 1894 he dropped Eastern Maori and he stood for Waipu, which was the old Gisborne, and he won it, and he held that seat for 25 years, during which time in 1909 and 1911 he was acting Prime Minister on 2 occasions. Are you impressed with that?
And if I wasn't mic'd up, I would stand up and bow at your feet. That is very, very good. I think, where are we going next?
I tell you where we're going. We're going to have a look. I think we can do a progress share, and I think we can go to Nigel Roberts on this.
Paul, what we have so far is some very few votes in, but we can at least have an early look at the share of the votes, and this is the share of the party votes. You can see behind me, we are stacking them up according to the... We've already gone to the seats. On the initial predictions, Labour would get 48 seats. The National Party would get 34, New Zealand First 13. This reflects, of course, the lot of electorates that have reported early are the Maori electorates, where New Zealand First is still stronger than it is elsewhere. ACT 10, Alliance 8, Greens 7, and United 1. But giving us 121, because so far on the very early returns we've had very few votes in for United, and on that case Peter Dunn would be an overhang MP, so to speak, which will no doubt annoy people who voted for fewer seats in the House of Representatives in the referendum.
Good, Nigel. What do you make? I mean, what's your view on the number of seats in Parliament? Are you bothered by? I suppose really this referendum was fired by, was it the Massey study or the Waikato study, Linda, which showed that around about 97, 98, there's a real disillusionment with the way democracy works in this country, and I suppose really all of the parties have had a lesson, haven't they, over the past 10 years in how you must do what you say you're going to do, because the people will not forgive you if you don't.
That's right, and I think what we've seen is a kind of moving of the seats. I mean, first of all, should we have proportional representation? Then we decided to have proportional representation. Now we've got it. People are not happy with it. They want something else again. There is, at the heart of all of this, is an anxiety about representation and an anxiety that the people you vote don't really do what you've voted them to do. And so I'm not surprised by the poll. I don't think anyone will be surprised by the referenda result. But I think that there was, albeit low-key, but a sustained campaign by some people who ought to know, actually, about things like democracy and representation, who would argue vigorously that it will be a bad thing.
But interesting too about MMP, there might be greater satisfaction emerging about MMP now too, as we really now start to absorb, and as the parties themselves really come to understand too that you can, MMP is a system where you can vote for the candidate you like without hurting the party you want ultimately to form a government. Anyway, we've got the Pull Yourself Together party again, David Long and Gary McCormick, with some further views on the political landscape.
How do you tell people that live in Nelson? You can tell by the cold sores on their lips from drinking out their own pottery mugs. Which leads to our policy on the arts. We're going to subsidise.
We'll only subsidise arts in Wellington Central.
Yes, that's right. Well, I'm sorry, we're cutting off all funding to Nelson. There's a surfeit of pottery mugs at the moment in this country. I've seen the figures. We're also going to cut, this will upset Wellingtonians. I know you're very, very conscious of the arts. You're all very, very supportive of the arts and theatre in Wellington in particular. But we are going to do away, I'm afraid, with the National Symphony Orchestra. Guy from the Alliance over there has no alliances whatsoever, is happy to applaud. The reason is I've looked into the Symphony Orchestra and there's a lot of feather bedding going on there. Have you noticed how many people are playing the violin? It's pathetic. The brass section, far too many of them. It's an unruly melee, and because there are so many of them, they have to have a conductor to keep them in order. So if we can just cut back on the numbers, I think get it down to about 4 or 5 people, we won't need a conductor, and we can send them around in one of those rent-a-van arrangements and save considerable funds. So that's the arts policy.
And hot work by the looks of it discussing the arts policy too, and I think there might have been one or two disrespectful remarks about Nelson, which is a wonderful, wonderful part of the country, and I'm sure no real offence was meant. Decision 99 continues.
We'll be back after the break.
You can talk the hind legs off a donkey this weekend for only $3. Make a direct dial national call from or to a mobile phone anywhere in New Zealand, including Go Prepaid. Talk for as long as you like and you'll pay no more than $3. Only with Telecom.
From the finest chocolate, Gillian creates little waves of happiness.
I'm faithful, baby. Tell you I got nothing to hide, except sometimes when it slips my mind, I need an alibi. Well, it's hard being a woman, you know. You don't want to spread yourself thin, but I'll let you in on the secret.
Natural bronze. We won't tell if you won't. Order now 0508 802 800.
Stop what you're doing! And listen to this!
We believe we have New Zealand's lowest price vehicles. If you're not buying from us, you could be paying too much. 1994 Primera, only $7,990. New Shape Prelude, only $8,990. 96 Legacy, only $13,990. 95 Bluebird, only $6,990. All with our famous 101% money-back guarantee. Mike Vincent Motors, Graylin and Yulin.
Quality furnishings at an excellent price. At House Lots Interiors, we offer just that. We have everything you need to fish your living space, from custom-made sofas, beds, lounge and dining suites, coffee tables, bookcases, or even the perfect thing to fill that empty space. And when you've decided on what you'd like, we'll deliver it nationwide. Come and see us at Mount Albert or Devonport and see what a difference quality furnishings can do for your home.
Direct from the BBC.
The business is without morals.
The fashion industry doesn't want you to see this world, but on Monday you will.
I've been using two cameras, one to take pictures on the catwalk, and a secret camera to film off it.
A journalist goes undercover to expose disturbing truths about the fashion industry and one of the world's most prestigious agencies.
We tend to see the girls now like not human.
A year-long investigation that reveals drug abuse.
You name it, they've got it.
And sexual exploitation of girls as young as 13.
The actors' fashion's pimps.
McIntyre undercover fashion victims.
Have to blow the whistle and blow my cover before it goes too far.
An exclusive assignment special, 8:30 Monday on One. Proudly brought to you by Qantas.
Decision 99, welcome back. Now we have a progress and a prediction, I think, from Te Tai Tokerau, which of course is the old Northern Maori seat, and Tauhenere, there you see, sitting in third position, nearly 4% of the vote counted. We're predicting a Labour win, and that'll be Dover Samuels. He's Labour spokesperson on Maori Affairs, associate spokesperson on Fisheries, 60 years old, and a distinguished man too, as Dover Samuels received the commemoration medal for services to New Zealand in 1990. So we're predicting a Labour win in Te Tai Tokerau. Moving along, we can do a prediction there. We call it a Labour win. Now to we'll go to Hugh. Yes, your reading of that, Hugh.
Oh, thanks very much. We can have a look at our worm now. If you look behind me, you can see the screen. Any minute now we'll get an appearance. We have about 1% of the vote counted. You can see it's jumping up and down a little bit, but it is beginning to establish a pattern. And I'm prepared to stick my neck out at a first guess this time. I'm looking at something like, if we can continue with the projections, we'll get those percentages. There we go. Here we are. Here's my first call. Labour 36%, National 29%, New Zealand First 8%, Act 7, you can read them down the screen there. Greens 5%, that's an interesting one. New Zealand First over that percentage that we heard with the Victoria University poll earlier. Can we convert that now into seats in the House, take out the qualifiers, change the numbers? There we are, look at that. Alliance and Labor 59, National and ACT 50, New Zealand First don't feature in there. There we are, I'm sticking my neck out. Let's keep an eye on that through the rest of the evening.
Good, Hugh. So good to see the worm in action. I'm just hoping that we can go to Richard Prebble now in Wellington Central, picking 10% for ACT. There we cannot at this particular stage. Now, Linda, we have Jenny Shipley, do we? Right, we can go to Duncan at the Shipley headquarters, or we might go to Linda for some panel discussion, which will keep it
as close as we can get. Exactly. Okay. The only problem with this is that everyone else is going to get questions.
Right, let's go to Hamish. Hamish at the Shipley House.
Thank you, Paul. It's a cold evening here. We're actually on the front lawn of the Shipley's property. Inside behind me in the house, Mr Shipley and their family, they're entertaining guests and also some party staff. It's been very cold here and wet in Ashburton, about 8 degrees just an hour or so ago, and raining. I can tell you, Paul, that it's been a relaxed day for the Prime Minister today after a very hectic day yesterday up and down the country. She got it home here last night, late last night. This morning she went out to the polls at about 10:45 with her family. And they voted there, of course. That was at the Allenton Community Centre. Then they went off for morning tea, and then they had a lunch as well. And the whole family have been with the Prime Minister today at all the various engagements. They came home at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and they have stayed at home. As I said, it's been wet and cold and miserable. The Prime Minister has had a bit of a rest, had a bit of a lie down. Tonight, she is surrounded by supporters, by family, by friends, and also by staff from Wellington.
No, Hamish, I know it's very cold there, but it looks, again, like a very pretty garden as well. Now, Richard Prebble at Wellington Central is talking now, obviously, on the cell phone, perhaps to a radio station. Let's listen.
But who knows? And I'm not going to make a prediction tonight because within an hour, we'll probably all know.
You don't have any guesses for the number of seats ACT will get?
Oh, I don't think that making predictions within an hour to go is a sensible thing to do. What is clear is that it does appear there's been a swing against the centre-right, and ACT's beaten that tide, and that's a very significant achievement.
Will it make much difference to you if you don't regain the seat and you only have a list seat in Parliament?
Oh, I'd like to hold Wellington Central, but of course the party vote is the most important, and if ACT goes up, that has to be, from the party's point of view, the best thing. This is always been a very hard race here in Wellington Central, and we might be like that. I mean, there have been 4 members of Parliament for Wellington Central so far this decade.
How are you going to be spending the rest of your evening?
I'm going to be spending it here with my supporters, of course.
Richard Prebble there entering his party headquarters for the evening, and I have to say I've seen Richard Prebble look a lot more chipper than that. Well, Nick Strauss, let's talk to you first. Was that a kind of concession for the seat?
No, I think Richard is absolutely a realist. It's a neck-and-neck race, and I think at the end of a campaign, you know, he's just sitting back and watching what will happen, but I think sensible not to call it.
Matt McCartan, stop smiling like Cheshire Cat.
I mean, come on, the election's over, Nick. He's gone. He's history.
I just saw him. He's there. What do you mean?
He did say, though, that what we're seeing is a swing against the centre-right. Do we have a feeling here on the panel of how big the swing is? I mean, Mike, what do you think?
I just can't make any sense out of the figures yet, Linda.
Because New Zealand First is so high?
I find that very difficult to believe.
What about you, Matt?
Your computers are wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got it mixed up. I mean, no, I'm serious. I mean, I just think it's so obvious to all of us here. The figures are actually wrong, and for the prediction, it's just silly. I mean, you would say, why would New Zealand First be up so high? I think they've got actually the Alliance and New Zealand First mixed up on your screens.
It was John Rolls, the John Rolls
The John Rolls
singing
bit
at the
coming
opening.
through at the last minute.
That whole, you know, John Rolls thing is doing it.
36%, though, on that prediction at this point in time for Labor on the party vote. Now, Mike, you'd be wanting a lot more than 36.
We'd like a bit more than that, but this is... I think what's happening is the very small rural booths are coming in first, and Labor always trails to begin with. It wouldn't worry me at this point, but I think Matt's quite right. I think your system is transposing New Zealand First with the Alliance.
What do you think about Wellington Central? Do you want to make a call on it?
Looking at Richard's face, Marion Hobbs has won the seat.
He didn't look like a happy man,
He didn't
did
look like a happy man, no.
Well, Sir William Birch, you've known Richard Pribble for a long time. What's your pick on that seat?
I think what's happening in those trigger seats like Wellington Central is you're getting strategic voting. I mean, you're getting a collapse of the votes and just polarising around Labour in that particular case. And that's what's happening at Coromandel. It actually is a worrying factor under MMP that you can get that strategic voting in key seats. Now, it's not quite so easy to get it across the board in the party vote. And I think what we're seeing on the spreadsheet is predictions in terms of the forecasts of the polls, and the results so far seem to be tracking that in respect to the major parties. But the spreadsheet's hopelessly mixed up in regard to the minor parties.
All right, we're all hopelessly mixed up, and now we're back to Paul Holmes.
And we no longer need to be mixed up because we have Duncan Garner this time now to Shipley headquarters, to the National Party headquarters in Methven. So they're starting to arrive. Duncan, how would you describe the character of the mood at the moment with just some early numbers coming in?
Well, we did a bit of a sort of a straw survey, or went around and had a chat to some of the National Party supporters here in the last half an hour, and I mean, I actually think that the polls in the past week have actually knocked the stuffing out of a lot of these National Party supporters here. I couldn't find too many people predicting a fourth term of national government.
So they're rolling along. Are they just local people, or are they people who have come up from Ashburton as well, all over Rakaia, I guess?
Yeah, all over, but I understand there's a lot of business people here from Ashburton who have come up to increase the numbers. I mean, they're hoping for 300. I did a bit of a count before, maybe 100, 150 odd people.
That's Duncan Garner. We'll get back to you, Duncan. That's Duncan in Methven at the Shipley headquarters. Now, we have a progress score for you, or not a score, but we have progress numbers from New Plymouth. Harry Dijnhoven, who has been there since 1987, I think Harry came in. That's nearly, look at that, nearly 8% of the vote count, predicting a Labour win there. Safe Labour seat for New Plymouth, Harry Dijnhoven, and the national candidate well behind then. We have now a progress from Taranaki King Country. Remember, this is that's West Coast Tasman, pardon me. Rotto Burn there for national, just over 6% of the vote counted, polling pretty evenly with Damien O'Connor. Again, too early to say. We have Taranaki King Country here. Shane Ardern, you'll remember, is the young man, or the man who won the seat for National after the resignation of Jim Bolger. John Young polling for Labour. Owen Jennings there might be disappointed in that number, but again, only 5% of the voters counted in that electorate, and we're predicting a national win. We have a Hauraki progress. Interesting, this seat, of course, because we're seeing, when we can just go, we'll go to there shortly, I think, Hauraki, one of the Maori Seats. This is John Tamahe polling very well there. And Willie Jackson, they're friends, they know each other very well, and Willie Jackson has been on Holmes quite a lot, pontificates very well about sport as well as political matters. But Willie Jackson, for the Alliance, one to watch there. But John Tamahe, very well-positioned there ahead of the New Zealand First candidate. New Zealand First won the election last time, predicting a Labour win. Decision 99 continues. We hope to be able to get them coming thick and fast now after the break.
Here are the confirmed results in Lotto draw number 646. Tonight's winning numbers were 3, 8, 13, 18, 23, 34 and a bonus number 20. Your winning Lotto strike numbers were in this order: 13, 23, 18 and 34. The winning ticket serial number of our $1,000 a day until the end of the year prize was ticket serial number 897 6635 0088 2076, and that went to Napier. Full Lotto and Lotto strike results will be available from tomorrow at all Lotto outlets, from most newspapers and radio stations, and of course on teletext. Congratulations to all of tonight's Lotto and Lotto strike winners.
Yeah, I never met a dog I didn't like, which is a good thing considering some of the occupational hazards my friends put me through. This is mine. This is Herman. Ooh, what do we have here? Fleas. Frontline kills within hours. Frontline's the best. It's distributed in the natural oils in the coat. It protects longer and it's waterproof. Do you need some too, sweetie? No matter who your best friend happens to be.
Frontline for cats and dogs. The confidence of superior protection.
Okay, one more time. Up.
Here's the deal. No more guesswork. Buy them a Christmas present you know they'll love. The Philips ISIS. $99 with $50 of free call time.
We need family, friends and even foes. And heroes. We need nourishment. We need our mums.
New Kellogg's Wheat Biscuits, taking our kids into the new millennium.
How are we going to get there?
Oh, we'll go around the back way.
Who's going to feed the dogs? Kent do it? You reckon? Yeah, you should do. He might not, actually. Just thinking about it. I never feared his.
We make lots of souvenirs for the Cup Village. Come and have a look at this. I mean, you can't miss this. This is the best thing that's ever happened to this country.
The American Express New Zealand Cup Village. Bring it on, world. We're ready.
You'll have to look after the horses, or you can let them go in Eden Park.
They'll play a bit of rugby.
Of all the great reasons to buy a Holden Astra, consider this one.
Transform your home with hot offers from Harvey's, like these blackout ready-made curtains. They keep the light out while you sleep in. Snuggle into these quality quilted bedspreads now with 50% off. Enjoy the great look and savings of 20% off Morocco ready-made curtains. Recover that old chair or sofa with Turkish upholstery fabric, save $10 a metre. And add style with direct import ready-made Venetian and Roman blinds. So get in now to save and transform your home before Christmas with Harvey's hot offers.
When to pay, Y2K.
Buy a new bed now and pay nothing till February 2000. No deposit, 24 months interest free and no payments till next century. On now at Superior Sleep.
Clean up like a professional with serious cleaning gear from Carrick. Like this wet and dry vacuum cleaner with carpet and upholstery shampoo tools, only $549, delivered free. That's a seriously good buy. Call 0800 2 Carrick to order or visit our Penrose showroom.
Decision 99 continues, and we see John Tamahe there with the progress coming in from the Maori seat of Hauraki, the new seat. Again, consider the age of the average age of this Maori seat's 21, 22 years old, and John Tamahe is very well placed with the work he's done for the Waipareta Trust to take advantage of that vote, some of whom, of course, will be voting, I guess, for the first time. Some progress there, the progress share. A look at what the share might be with Hugh Morton.
Thanks, Paul. Behind me on the screen here in a moment, you'll see the party vote progress share. Now, there were some remarks earlier about the New Zealand first vote and so on in the early Maori seats. Our system takes that into account. Of course, we know where those votes are coming from and we adjust accordingly. Now, of course, I trust our system as well. I don't think there's been any mix-up between the two. But if you look carefully now, you will see New Zealand first are faring quite well at this stage. Those are the percentages now. They will change over the night. We all know that, the political pundits as well as myself. And we're keeping an eye on them. Stay with us, Paul.
We have a progress, Hugh, now from, let's hope you're right, we got a progress from West Coast Tasman, there, Damien O'Connor, doing well. 11% of the vote counted there, and Rodderburn slipping back as more and more of the voters counted. I would think a prediction there would still be a Damien O'Connor win. We can go to the East Coast. That's a very big seat as well, North Island seat. You see Janet Mackey's seat. It stretches from just north of Napier all the way to East Coast. That's a very difficult electorate, I would think, to service, but still predicting a Labour win there. And now we have Taranaki King Country. Shayna Dern looks comfortable there with just over 7% of the vote counted. And then this interesting seat, Wairiki, Tauriki John Delamere's seat. What is happening there? Now, you see Mr Delamere holding very well there, but Mita Ridinui, who is the Labour candidate, ahead at the moment, but again, less than 5% of the vote counted, Linda.
All right, well, now we join Marion Hobbs, who is vying with Richard Prebble for that seat of Wellington Central. Marion, can you hear me? Marion, can you hear me?
Yes, I can just hear you. There was a loud explosion of noise. But
just because they saw you on the telly. Now, are you feeling confident about your seat? We saw Richard a few moments ago and he looked a little bit crestfallen, although he certainly wasn't conceding. And his minders tell me, in fact, that he thinks things will be all right. How about you?
I think it's a very, very close selection. And I think that my joy is, and the joy of my people, is that we've worked as a fabulous team together. We've actually enjoyed ourselves. And the result, the most important result, is a Labour government. Wellington Central, I'd love it. Very close.
Very
we'll
close.
See.
So how are the fingernails?
The fingernails are okay, actually. I had a wonderful day today. Cleaned the flat.
And of course, being an ex-principal, she'd be very hard on herself.
Of my old school, actually. Although I'm happy to say she wasn't principal when I was there, because otherwise I would have had a rough time.
I'm sure she'd be very disapproving if she were biting her own fingernails. Nando Tandosh, of course, is number 5 on the Greens list, and Nando and Sue Bradford. I don't know whether Sue's hooked up to any piece. Can you hear me, Sue? Oh, she can. OK, but anyway, we've got Nando Tandosh standing, of course, for the Greens in Auckland Central, and Sue Bradford is standing for an electorate just a bit further north. But Nando, looking good for the Greens, is it so far? You certainly seem to be happy enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't want to be overconfident until the votes are all counted, but the polls have been looking good, that's for sure.
And indeed, you've been subject to quite a bit of provocation, but I think it has to be said that you and Sue Bradford, have handled that very well indeed in recent days.
Well, I think that the people of New Zealand don't really want to hear that negative kind of campaigning. People want to hear the positive vision for our country, where we're going as a people, and I think that's what people are interested in.
Sue, can you actually hear me? Are you hooked up?
Yes, hi, Paul.
Yes, well, you seem to be of a very happy disposition at the moment as well, because 5.5% would get quite a few Green people into the Parliament, about 6 MPs.
Yeah, there's quite a few of us here at the Green Party in Auckland tonight, and we're looking forward to having a really good team of Green Party MPs in Parliament tomorrow, despite what ACT and National have been trying to do to us over the past couple of weeks. I think it backfired big time, and we'll see tonight.
I think it is generally agreed you're going to be a couple of characters in the Parliament, and we can expect, if you get in there, some very interesting conversations and some very interesting debate and revelation. Nando Tandosh and Sue Bradford at the Greens headquarters, and of course Nando is standing. So your seat, Albany. You're the Green candidate in Albany.
Rodney.
Rodney, pardon me. I was confused the two. And Nando Tandosh standing for the Greens in Auckland Central. Linda.
All right, I think we're going to a progress report first in Clutha, am I right? No, we're not. We're going much more exciting than that. We're going to see Mr. Tu Wiley. In fact, we've got Richard Prebble now. Which would you like?
There's quite a bit of difference. There's two. He shaved off the moustache. Hard to tell the difference between the two now.
Mr. Wiley, we wouldn't confuse you with Richard Prebble for more than a nanosecond.
Thanks very much for that.
How are you standing up? How are you holding up this evening?
Oh, I think I'm standing up a bit better than my family, who are more nervous than I am. But yeah, I don't want to go through this too much again. You know, it's pretty rough, this sort of stuff. God.
Do you want to make a call on the seat? Do you think you're going to hold it? I mean, our poll just a little earlier showed it wasn't looking so good for you.
Yeah, it's early days, and I'm more hopeful rather than confident. And if I miss, I miss, and you know, life goes on, and I'll have to apply for John Hart's job.
Well, look.
Well, you may get it.
Yeah, you may get it.
You may get it too.
I couldn't do a worse job.
You are not on your party's list. Are you having a little regret about that now?
No regrets. No, not really, because you make your bed and you take your chances, and that's the way life is, and you do your best, and at the end of the day, whoever wins, congratulations, you know.
All right, and too, I suppose we could say, you know, if you decide not to apply for the All Black coaching job, certainly you could ask Mum how to grow those hollyhocks. I don't want to go on about the hollyhocks, but please tell Mum too that they're very beautiful hollyhocks, and she could teach you how to grow them, and there'd be wonderful income.
It's a double bang, really, her son and her flowers.
But again, early days too. We've got a progress on to Taitonga, I think, and at the moment, Mahara Okoroa in the lead too with 868 votes, and you have 558. That's 13% of the vote counted, and too, we're still predicting a Labour win. To Taranaki King Country for a progress. Don't have that. We've got Whanganui. Whanganui progress is Jill Pettis, still trailing at the moment, but again, only 4% of those votes count. Again, that's one of those difficult seats, the polling booth. So, I mean, that goes right up into Taranaki, Whanganui, right around...
Some very sort of hill country. And
there it is there.
It is quite a difficult electorate. It's going to take a while to count.
Richard Prebble is with us from his headquarters at Wellington Central. Do we see, several people have mentioned here, they've seen you looking happier. Mr. Prebble, do we detect a certain nervousness?
What, are you asking me if I detect a certain nervousness?
Amongst yourself or your supporters?
Oh, I think everyone's always nervous on election night, even if it's a thrill that you're going to win. It's clear that the ACT Party has broken the 5% threshold, that we will be in Parliament after this election. It looks at this stage that there's been a swing against the centre-right, which we've beaten. So from that point of view, I guess I'm rather pleased.
You've been in politics such a long time. Do election days get any easier, Richard? I suppose it's a kind of day that's, it's nerve-wracking on the one hand, but also deeply exciting, isn't it? Because election day, I suppose, is the stuff of politics, isn't it?
Most certainly is. They do get more difficult with the MMP. It becomes hard to read what the results mean. They take longer to come in. For example, in Wellington Central, we're not expecting any of our major booths in until after 9 o'clock at night. So at this stage, I mean, I have no idea. I've always said that I must be the underdog because the seat was redistricted, though the polls have always shown that it's going to be very close. And of course, Wellington Central has more overseas votes than any other electorate, so this could be one of those electorates where we could be waiting days to find the answer.
Yeah. At least they don't have to look after the Chatham Islands. That's Rongotai. The Rongotai MP has to look after the Chatham Islands. That's Annette King's, isn't it? But anyway, Richard, excellent. We'll contact you later in the evening.
We have and we'll certainly come back to you. We have a result now from Northland. John Carter's seat. He is expected to win it. That's just a progress report only, of course, but he's polling quite strongly at this early hour. We have an Ilam result or a progress report. Jerry Brownlee, the sitting MP, he is expected to hold that seat. Of course, he got into a bit of strife this election. National's launch, he was...
Well, you might say it was strife. Others would say he was gallant in removing the detractors from his prize. That's the old Fendleton seat, a lot of that, isn't it?
It is the old Fendleton seat. Christchurch Central now, well, this is a Labour seat at the moment, and on progress so far, it's predicted that Labour will hold that seat. Tim Barnett, the sitting member. Liz Gordon there, of course, the little asterisk indicates she is an MP already. She's a list MP for the Alliance, and of course, if they do as well as expected, she will, or she may well be a list MP again after this evening.
Rangatike progress again, you see, because big country seat, this one you can see from the map in the corner, so progress is slow there and counting just under 2%, but Simon Power is the National MP. None of those people is National MP. Suzanne Bruce, 11 votes so far. She is the person who had such strife, really, with the revelations during the campaign. Now, Linda, I think you've got Derek Fox.
We have indeed. Now, Derek Fox is standing as an independent in Ikaroa Rāwhiti. Derek, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How are you feeling this evening? Are you confident you may hold that seat?
Well, I'm relaxed, and it's interesting to see how things are developing. We're not hearing too much, and the early results that we have heard indicate that I'm still trailing, which is what the polls showed earlier on.
I mean, if we look at the Maori seats as a whole, we seem to be seeing that they're returning back to Labour.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, if an independent or someone stood up 3 months before an election or less than 3 months before an election and went against a trend like this, they should have been bowled over. At the moment, we're still there.
We're looking, bear with us, but we're looking at the progress report so far in your seat. You are trailing the Labour candidate. He is at 459 votes. You are at 416. So quite a close contest.
Yeah, yep, it is a close contest. And for me, and certainly given my travels around the electorate, it indicates that people that I spoke to, and I didn't get to speak to very many, I didn't get to speak to them all, they want better than we've had so far, and we will give them better in due course.
Tremendously difficult seat to work, I would think, Derek, from the East Cape to Wellington.
Yep, the East Cape to Wellington and across to the western side of the country. I mean, it's ridiculous. There are something like 14 general seats, either partly or wholly inside that seat. Yeah. Now, who else has got to traverse that?
Yeah, and of course, mountainous country, slow roads as well, so, and that's probably why you're looking a bit tired. I mean, no offence, eh?
Not just that, also the fact that it's terrible having to drive up and down the road and see my principal rival's posters all over the place.
Derek Fox in Wairoa tonight, and we'll keep an eye on him and on his result. Clutha, we have a progress bill English, of course, comfortably positioned there. That is very high enrolment and one of the lowest unemployment seats in the country, I think about maybe 3.5%, 4%. Who have we got there? We've got... No, we've got Notago progress now. Gavin Hurley's the sitting National MP. We're predicting a national win there, of course. And now, Linda, we've got Phil Goff in Te Aratu. You can hear me OK, I trust.
Te Aratu, Mount Roskill, please.
Well, pardon me, I beg your pardon, Mount Roskill. Yes. Yes, correction acknowledged, tell them be quiet. Everybody's allowed to make a mistake. So, you're looking very happy. Are you pleased by what we can detect so far?
Well, it's premature to say yet. We're looking very good in the Maori seats, and it's too early to tell in the country seats. It's only the rural booths that are coming in. But if we go on the feeling on the ground in the last few weeks, it's been tremendous. There's a real will to change the government. New Zealand believes it's time for a change.
I realise it's not a matter of major political import to Phil, but is that a poodle on your tie?
That's a sheep. I'm standing up for the agrarian. Somebody said it was one of Mrs Shipley's supporters, but I said I wouldn't be political about it.
Is this an early bid to be Minister of Agriculture, perhaps?
No, I'm making no bid for that at all.
We have a Wellington Central progress to look at now. Richard Prebble, there you see again too close, less than 1% accounted, and as he says, some of the key booths come in very late, but that's very even between Richard Prebble and Marion Hobbs. Jonathan Moten, of course, New Zealand first candidate there. He's the blind campaigner, an excellent and determined campaigner. Northland, the progress, John Carter's seat, shouldn't be a worry there, under 4% of the vote counted. And now we can go to Hugh. We have more information from your wonderful worm, Hugh Morton.
Yes, thank you, Paul. I made a prediction earlier. I've got a second one here. It's very little different from the previous one. If you follow the graph behind me, you can see those early uncertainties, a nice steady slowing down. If we extend that with 2% of the vote counted, if we extend that now to get our predictions, fill in the percentages, thank you. Still very little different, a few percentage points, not even that, 0.5 percent point change. The Greens are hovering around 5. I'll come back to that in a minute. If we can take out the non-qualifiers and get the seats in the House, there we see it. We're missing the United Party. I'm not quite sure why that happened. The interesting feature here is that the Greens are hovering just under about 5%. And I think the Coromandel is the crucial seat if indeed they don't make that 5%. So I think we should keep a good watch on that tonight. Paul.
So, once again, if those numbers are correct, once again, Winston Peters has confounded, the pundits confounded the media, who has been cursing all week. And
won't we hear about it tomorrow?
We'll hear about it. We're back with more Decision 99 in a few minutes.
Stay with us.
A gruesome discovery.
Sayonara, Miss Ferris.
Sordid secrets.
Why did you lie to me?
Not here.
And searing passions.
Well.
Enter a forbidden world.
Go carefully.
I know all about you two.
Did you say lesbian?
No, please, I don't want to know.
Where no one can be trusted.
Get the police.
Diana Rigg is the inimitable Mrs. Bradley.
It takes a lot to satisfy me, Inspector.
One's Sunday Summer of Mystery, 8:30 on One.
After lunch, it's hands on head time. Clap your hands, hands on head. And if you've got smelly, wet armpits, the kids notice it straight away. Total chaos. It kept me fresh and natural. I didn't have to look and think, oh my God, I can't put my hands on my head.
Only Dove deodorant offers the most effective ingredients for maximum dryness and 1/4 moisturising cream to take care of your skin.
I live in shorts and tracksuit pants at school because I teach sport mainly. It's nice to have something on that still makes you feel like you're a woman.
And hoping and thinking and praying.
I wish I could squeeze a little more out of life.
I wish I had as much energy as he has.
I wish we could still be this strong when we're 90. I wish for a light, nutritious alternative to red meat. Teagle chicken. You couldn't wish for better.
More Christmas bargains.
Yes, Kiwi, the Warehouse have a huge range of Christmas gift baskets, priced from only $12.99 each. 15% off the latest Tac Pee-wee miniature trick border sets, now just $13.99 each. These jacquard and velour beach towels in assorted designs, priced from an amazing $6.99 each. Plus this portable AC/DC Transonic CD player with 10-second anti-shock, an incredible $99.99.
Get to the warehouse, where everyone gets a bargain.
There's a money back guarantee.
The Corrs' new album is Unplugged, a special recording of their greatest hits. The magic of the Corrs, captured at their best, including the stunning new
Vision 99, I think we can say right now we've got the first drama of the evening. What you're looking at there is the Labour Party party room, the actual fun party room, and a lift is being priced apart. Jackie Maher, I don't know if you can hear me, but what's happening? This is where Helen Clark is expected at the Avondale Racecourse later on. We've got drama with the lift. What is it, Jackie?
4 children or 4 young people are stuck in this lift, Paul. We're just trying to get them out now. They've been in here for about 10 or 15 minutes or so.
Certainly some very savage dealing to the lift is going on, and that appears to be a key being attempted there, but some could say that's drama, not necessarily related to the politics. They're attempting to get the lift open and get 4 young people out of the lift at Avondale.
Here we go.
Michael Cullen is with us from Napier. He's one of the 2 men we expect after tonight to be in charge of the purse strings of the nation. Michael Cullen is the Lister MP and Labour's Treasury spokesperson with us from with his supporters in Napier. You got a feel for it yet, Michael?
Having a bit of trouble hearing you, Paul, so if you could speak up a bit.
Yeah, we're getting some trouble with our signal, with our links around the country tonight. Might be a weather phenomenon. Michael, I'm saying, are you getting a feeling yet for how things might be going nationally?
Well, the numbers seem at the moment to be very indecisive in that it's not clear whether Labour Alliance and Greens will have a clear majority or whether New Zealand First is going to hold the balance. So we're going to have to see a lot more results coming in, I think, before it's clear what the outcome will be. It seems pretty unlikely that National could cobble together a coalition out of what's been the result so far.
Are you surprised by what appears to be happening with the New Zealand First vote? We're looking at the moment possibly 10 seats for New Zealand First.
It certainly seems to be more than was predicted by the opinion polls, and certainly was not what I think, not what most people were expecting out of this election.
Michael Cullen, we'll get back to you later in the evening. We have a progress from Taranaki King Country. This is a national seat, predicting a national win. 11% counted, Shane Ardern looking well positioned. To Waiariki, Turiki John Delamere's seat. What do we see there? We see the Labour person, Mita Ririnui, is well ahead of Turiki Delamere at the moment, but again, only 8% counted in that quite big seat. We have a progress from Albany. This is Murray McCully's seat, and to Hamish McCracken, the Labour man, he is, but again, you see less than 1% counted, but we're predicting Murray McCully will hold that seat. Hamish McCracken is Labour's youngest candidate. He's 29 years old, and Mr Steenveld has had some controversy through the campaign as well. Rakaya, no doubt about that one, predicting a national win. To Jenny Shipley, she's well positioned at the moment. To Northland, don't expect any surprises there either. We have a progress from Northland in a moment or two. That is John Carter, the government whip. And 5% of the vote counted. That's going to be a national win. We can go back to the left. Any progress from the hospitality room at Avondale Racecourse, where Helen Clark is expected later on, and where her supporters will be hoping she can do an acceptance speech. That's Mike Munro, Helen Clark's one of his spokespeople there, and further assistance obviously coming in to deal with the lift. That looks like the fire department to the rescue to deal with the lift. Linda, what do the panel make of things so far?
I've got to tell you that Derek Best, who of course is one of those firemen, is actually quite high on Labour's list, so perhaps they could call him in and he could sort it out. Mike Williams, is this a sign of something?
I have no idea what it's a sign of, Linda.
You didn't organise this part of it.
I certainly didn't organise that.
Now, I think, Nat McCartan, you've got something to tell the country.
I do. I have to apologise. The figures are fine. The computers work well. What we misunderstood was, of course, all the Māori results are actually in it, which does actually put New Zealand First up. But if you actually look at...
So that's 7% that we're seeing New Zealand First in at the moment.
That is, and that's what threw us as well.
And you would see that coming down as the night goes on?
That will come down, because as the urban seats are coming in, or the general seats are coming in, are showing New Zealand First right down, and so therefore, and that's what confused us.
Nick, are you worried yet? I mean, all of the, I guess New Zealand First, ACT, the Alliance, all around about 7% on the prediction at the moment. That would be a lot lower than you had expected.
Well, it's lower than we expected, but you know, I think Alliance and ACT will end up being pretty close, and you know, toward double figures, if not in double figures.
But certainly on what we've seen so far, it's not a landslide against the centre-right, is it?
Well, the amazing thing, I think, is the distribution of votes amongst the minor parties, the very small parties. So you're not getting over that threshold with a coalition, and neither the left or the right is looking like achieving that at this point.
Well, can I just say is that what these are is actually the small booths. And so what that actually shows is I think there is a landslide is building up here, because when you look at it, ACT should be doing higher in the smaller booths and that we should be doing a lot lower And what you've got with Labor is about mid-30s now with the small booths that are coming in, and National is losing in those. And so what I'm suggesting is I think the mood is on for quite a substantial move to the centre-left.
We'll hold that thought. We'll come back to you, Nick Strauss, in a moment, but I think we're going to go and have a look at a Wellington Central progress report. There it is. We are looking, or we are predicting at this point, that Richard Prebble would hold that seat. Now, Nick, that would be manna from heaven as far as you're concerned.
Yeah, that'd be tremendous, but, you know, only 1.8% is counted, so it's going to be a long night.
There's 5 votes between them, is that right?
Yeah, not at all.
55.
45 votes between them. I mean, Pam, this is a little bit like last time, isn't it? I mean, we thought the results would come through earlier. They're not. They're going to come through later and later.
Having been in that place last time for candidates, it's absolutely ghastly. I mean, I just want to put my hand up for them. And I remember it got to about 11:30 and I said, well, let's concede, you know, victory, even though we don't know. You know, we're sitting there tragically with bottles of champagne. And I thought there was a blue today in the polling booths. Why not put the referendum slips in one box? I don't want to tell Phil Whelan and all his crew what to do, but I thought, wouldn't that have made the counting more simple if they had done it that way? The main party and electorate vote in one box and one in the other. You see, the men here have been criticising your machinery. I defended it, and I also think a woman should have been running the polling booths today, and they would have come up with that very simple solution, and we would have all got some sleep earlier. Yeah.
Mike Williams, how tense is it going to be at Helen Clark's place tonight if she's looking at that poll at the moment?
Oh, she'd be fairly relaxed about that, I would imagine. I think what we're looking at now is quite a heavy swing against National in the rural areas.
Well, you said to me, what, 10 days ago you thought Labor had won the provinces?
Yeah, I'm quite convinced that's true. We've seen lots of very small booths come in, and National really ought to have established a lead at this point. They haven't done.
All right, we'll come back to that thought shortly. Paul, back to you.
Good, Linda, and the panel, Rangatike progress we have for you. There you will see that Simon Power is, with 4% of the vote counted, Simon Power well ahead. Again, that's one of those country seats. We'll be keeping a very close eye on what happens with that vote as it develops through the night, because that being one of the rural seats, of course, Simon Power. And Bill English, comfortably positioned, of course, not much doubt about that, particularly a national win in Clutha, or Clutha Southland. And here we are again at Avondale in the hospitality room. Oh, there's the kids coming out, and they seem to be a little bit distressed. 4 of them, we understand, and the fire service, it seems, managed to open the lift, and they're upset. That's Tony Timms of the Labor Party there, guiding the kids, and some inspection, really, of that lift will be going on. Now, you can tell from the fireman's suit, of course, raining in Auckland tonight. It's been a very warm, hazy sort of day, and that's a subtropical sort of rain. Mike Munro there. Now, Wellington Central, we'll look at that, firming up for ACT at the moment as more and more booths come in. I'm not sure what percentage of that vote is counted in Wellington Central. What do you make of that? Interesting what Mike Williams is saying, really, about the possibility. I know that Labor have felt for some time, and that the parties of the left have felt for some time. I remember Jim Anderton coming by perhaps 18 months ago, and he'd been to Whangarei, and he'd been to do a meeting, and the local people up there had put 200 seats in the hall. He went to inspect the hall. This was a year ago, 18 months. He said, take 100 of those out. I don't want to look silly talking to an empty hall. When he got back at 7 o'clock, they were putting the seats back in. So he figured something was happening in the provinces, and Mike Williams has been saying for a couple of weeks they were reading something unusual in the provinces. It looked as if National had won the had lost the provinces, and Labor had won them, so we'll see what happens.
Of course, in the old days, you could win an election on the provincial vote. This time round, these days, you've got to win Auckland as well, and we haven't really seen enough of those Auckland votes in yet to be able to say one way or the other. Now, I think we're going to Brian Donnelly.
Yep.
Good evening, how are you in Whangarei?
Good evening, Linda.
How are you feeling?
Well, I'm sort of sitting on about 4 knife edges at the moment, but we're still buoyant.
Still buoyant? I mean, the polls would say that you're not going to hold, or you're not going to take that seat. Of course, it's John Banks's seat and he's not standing, so that was a bit of a help.
Well, at this particular stage, but there's only a small percentage of the vote in, and Whangarei is a city with wide variety and diversity, and so it really depends upon which of those polling booths are in at this particular stage.
Now, you will have heard what our panellists had to say.